Boom. All right, cool. Hello. All right.
Bob, have
So,
you
yeah,
seen?
man.
Go ahead.
What? No, man.
I was going
You
to say
go.
the other thing that keeps, other than Turtle Boy, the other thing that I don't know if the other thing that keeps flooding my timeline, and I really don't know a ton about it, but have you seen this Kate Middleton
Gosh.
conspiracy? Holy shit, I can't get away from it.
I know. So it came out. They dropped a picture. You know, so everybody starts trying to figure out if that's some Photoshop shit. You know, because apparently she had a pretty, at least the claim is that she had a pretty serious surgery. And that's why she's been MIA. I don't know if anybody's actually seen her yet, though.
Well, that's the thing.
It's interesting.
Man. Like,
I mean, when you get to the royal family, people will fucking go off like kilter, man, and just be like, "Where is she? Where is she? Where's my princess?"
Well, I mean, it's,
hey, thank you, E. Carol.
Where I saw this one account that literally took. It was like a Vogue cover, and they took, like, they could do it now, like with whatever program, and they take the Vogue cover and they put it on top of that picture that was released, and it's clearly the exact same picture from this Vogue cover how many years ago. So it's absolutely wasn't her. That picture was completely doctored. I mean, so much so that AP did a kill it's called like a kill story or something, where they're like, we are not publishing this because we know it was doctored. And like, so they pulled. Yeah.
So did it come from Buckingham Palace? Did it like come from? Holy shit, dude! What the fuck's going on with her, man?
And then she tweets something like, you know, much like many amateur photographers, I you know, changed my photos. I don't know what the words were, but like, it's I mean, it's wild. Like, but what do I know?
That's
I don't really
dude.
know
That is, I mean, I don't either. Other than it's sus. Like, if she went through a surgery, then just say she went through a surgery, and like, you know, it seems like something. Like, see, this is what happens, Jay, when you do shit in the shadows. Everybody starts speculating. Everybody thinks it's sus. Everybody thinks that there's like some shit going on. Like, I definitely do. I'm pretty sure she's dead, and they're trying to cover it up. That's where my brain goes immediately.
I mean, that's
be
what
wrong.
people are saying, Bob.
That's of course. That's my point. It's like you know, like when you hide in the shadows when you're the royal family, dude. Now we know why old boy and old girl fucking said, you know what, we're about to bounce out of this shit. I don't need the royal family shit anymore. Like the chick from
yeah. Well, if you want to get
True Crime Fangirl, welcome. All right, and just a friendly reminder, y'all. Jay's chat. Okay, we cannot like. I'm not able to answer your questions in Jay's chat. My answers to your questions appear in my chat, and same with Jay. So if you guys are asking from our chat, if you're asking Jay a question, he's answering you. Unfortunately, he's answering you in his chat where y'all can't see it. So the point being, jump back and forth. That's kind of the fun thing about this. Meet some new folks, you know, engage with other people, everybody on both camps. And we have so many crossovers anyway. You guys are all going to love each other. We have identical families. Like we're all in the same boat here in terms of how we operate. So, you know, it's a cool thing to do. And please, all my subs, and Jay is taking a commanding lead in our thoroughbred race. I think he's at 14-3. My vacation didn't help. He really took advantage of that and like was really going to the crop and like hitting the horse saying, let's go. He's out of town. So he's got a big lead. So point being, give me a sub if you like our content. We'd love to have you over there. We think we put out some pretty good content. And like for the most part, I'm pretty objective, except for Delphi. Delphi, I'm definitely a defense guy, but and it's not that I think that Richard Allen's guilty or innocent. It has nothing to do with that. I believe that what's been going on in that case has been an abomination of constitutional rights. I think it's been a direct attack on the constitutional rights, and you can only look at it individually. You know, I mean, so he's the defendant, but in terms of what's been happening in that case, it's been shocking to my conscience, and I'm a defense bar guy. I've been a criminal defense attorney for 20 plus years. I am going to take the side of the Constitution always. because that's what we do. So, like, in that particular case, I don't want to be like, but I objectively look at things. But in terms of like where I'm landing on the way that I feel what's going on, I think that the dude's getting screwed. And I have no idea if he's innocent or guilty. I won't know that until trial. Just like any case, I happen to think that the probable cause affidavit in that case leans innocent. I'm definitely going to need to see more at trial because when you compare it to say like Hewerman, that bail application, man, like you knew, like I mean, yes, we technically have to wait till trial, and he's presumed innocent, but like you read something like that, you're like, they got this dude. You know what I mean? Like the trial's going to be a formality, and I feel the same way about Koberger. I know there's a lot of people out there that are trying to talk themselves into that guy's not the creep, but pretty certain he's the creep. So but Rick Allen, when you look at that PCA, nothing fits. Like nothing fits. Like as soon as Koberger's arrested, people come out of the woodwork talking about what a creep he was and like the weird shit he did and breaking into women's houses and putting fucking cameras up. And same with Hewerman. With Rick Allen, you don't get any of that. There wasn't one thing, not one person came out and said, yeah, you know what? Now that you mention it, I got really weird vibes from this dude. No one. Like some woman that worked with him at Walmart said that he farted at Walmart one time and didn't say excuse me or some shit. Like I'm not even kidding. It was like that was it. So there's just a lot that doesn't fit with that. Needless to say, the boss lady. Aw, fam hug. Welcome. Thank you for
Bob,
becoming a new member.
Don't forget, because people may not know, on my channel, not only does Bob have his YouTube, but his main game right behind him, right on his shoulder, the podcast, folks. So if you're looking for a podcast to check out, they might not even know about Gacy, Bob. Like tell them like this.
No,
like, they might
man.
not even know.
I forget, dude. Thank you for saying that. And yeah, Jay is absolutely 100% right. The reason I even have a YouTube channel is to promote my love, my passion project, which is my podcast. I've been doing it for about 2.5 years. And yeah, my dad was John Wayne Gacy's lawyer back in the day. He left me all of his taped interviews with Gacy, preparing him for trial. I held on to him for a very long time. Started like during COVID, like when many of us did, decided to start a podcast. I think that our serialized pod is, I'd put it up against any podcast out there. If you like deep dives, we're certainly that, and like I try to educate people, not in a condescending, shitty way, but I try to educate people about the process just because I've been a part of it. So I try to like enhance your enjoyment out there of the true crime that we all love so much in terms of being able to watch these trials and have a better understanding. So kind of the analysis that I give along with joking around with Jay, like when we're streaming, is much more in depth on the pod, but it's in story form, and I think I'm a pretty good storyteller. I was a trial lawyer for a long time and got a decent radio voice. And I think that you guys will dig it. So, and it really is, it's my thing. So if you haven't checked it out, it's available everywhere. Apple, Spotify, everywhere you can get your pods. And, I love it. And I think you guys too. And we have the docket, which is me and my brilliant, beautiful, phenomenal wife, Allison, who's an absolute powerhouse, who I'm in awe of every single day. She's my partner on that. So, and there we break down all of the current cases, everything that's going on. So obviously there's a lot of Delphi coverage there. We definitely have a lot of coverage of the Idaho 4 case. We did Vallow. And Jay, I don't know, man. I forgot that Chad Daybell thing is starting.
Yeah, when's
what are you
that?
thinking on that thing? Like, I think April Fool's Day, April 1st, bro.
Is that
Like,
street? Is that because Lori wasn't? Right?
yeah.
Lori was like the audio
Lori,
afterwards.
correct, which was incredibly taxing for Allison and I. Like, Allie would go listen to because they would drop the testimony audio only, like that evening at 6 p.m. And she would listen at like 1.5 speed, take all the notes. And then we were trying, but that trial went so fast because the defense did nothing. Like they wouldn't cross anybody. So the state was like running through their case in chief, and they had a shit ton of witnesses. Some of them were very long, because it was such a bizarre, like fascinatingly bizarre case. And, so I think we put out like 11 episodes on that. And really kind of went through witness by witness, just giving people like kind of the high points. It's going to be similar to what I'm going to have to do with Delphi, unless I get stunned and she decides to put cameras in there because there's such a call for it, which I'm really hoping, man. Like it would be nice to only have to like pop in for like a week, like go for openings, maybe stay for the first couple witnesses, come back home, be able to stream it with you, and then go back. You know what I'm saying? Like pop in and
Yeah,
out,
yeah.
like, but not go
Right.
like have to move to Delphi, Indiana for 5 weeks. It's like the only time I was ever away from my kids for like an extended period of time was during Garcia, and it was brutal. Like, like I was literally because my kids were in the middle of school. So, like, I didn't see my kids for a month, and like they had their shit going on. Like Cameron was in competitive cheer and Scarlett was doing like softball, so I mean they had things going on the weekend. So it was like, and I was working, I mean, it wasn't like, oh, I have the weekend off. It's like we're in the middle of a trial. You spend every moment when you're at trial preparing for what's to come on Monday, and in that case, like I've been talking about all the time, it's like we don't know whether, what the state, like in that case, the state did not play nice. They did not let us know who they were calling. Like they didn't give us an order. I think towards the end of it, that they were kind of like, they were finally like, all right, this is who we're calling, so that we'd have an idea preparing for the next day, because it's like you're having to go process of elimination style. Like, okay, they've called this, 43 witnesses. This is who they have left out of 170. This is who we think they might call. We haven't seen their expert in X, Y, and Z. But like trying to prepare for like expert witnesses where you really have to have your expert go through the report and explain to you what are the proper questions to ask, because attorneys, we know the law. Like I don't know
Right.
jack shit about DNA. I
Like DNA, I
hired
was
a
gonna say, like,
DNA
that is
expert.
complicated stuff you have to learn and, like, figure out a
Dude.
way to explain to the jury, like, that's a lot of work.
Oh man, and our guy was brilliant. He was our DNA expert was a guy named Carl Reich, and I was lucky because he happened to be an Illinois guy. Like he's been used like after we used him in 2016, in Garcia, I ended up seeing him like all the time on documentaries. Like Zellner used him for Steve Avery's like post conviction shit. I saw him in another huge case like recently. So but what makes him brilliant is not just the science side of it. It's that he's able to break DNA down so that morons like me can understand it. You know what I mean? And which is so important in a jury trial, because otherwise, if the jury's eyes are glossing over and they're just like, and they get the drool dripping down the side of their mouth because they've dozed, it's like that doesn't help, and it's like you want that expert who's going to be able to connect with the jury. And like he had a slight stutter, which, like we were like, is that gonna like, is the jury going to be weird about that? And I'm like, nah. I'm like, this guy is fucking gold, like he's amazing and he's brilliant and the jury's gonna love him. It's sad that you have to worry about shit like that in juries, but like, look at our chat. You know what I mean? It's like we're doing it in jest, obviously, but every witness comes on, we're critiquing them, and it's no different when you're on a jury, except you're doing it in your head. You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
It's human nature, I
And when
mean,
it's human nature, and it's here it's all in good fun. And none of us have a like a mean bone in our body in terms of going at people, and it's like we'll find people that are involved in a case that irritate the fuck out of us. Like Shannon Smith irritated 90% of the people. I happen to adore her. She reminded me a lot of my wife when she's at trial, just like just a pit bull, aggressive, and people like, so I got like kind of defensive with Shannon. I thought people were picking on her a lot, and that's why I kept trying to explain with her. I'm like, she tried that case alone, meaning that she didn't have a trial partner. You look at the state's table in any case, there's never less than two. There's oftentimes three. With Murdaugh, there was an army of prosecutors and young prosecutors because you need it. I mean, you need people that are handling every single thing that is coming up, whether it be digging through and getting exhibits ready, whether you're, on direct and you have to get all your shit prepared. You're trying to get your things into evidence. You got to get all the pictures ready, get them all labeled, make sure that everything's going. You want somebody to keep an eye on the jury. Is that, is this witness hitting home? What's the jury doing? It's like you're trying to watch everything at trial. And when you're doing it alone, it's overwhelming, So I felt sympathy for her. I had like emailed her midway through. I'm like, hey, I'm like, I know people are giving you shit and you're seeing it and you're responding to it, like, which you shouldn't, you just turn a blind eye to that shit. But I'm like, I'd love to have you on our podcast or YouTube channel. Like it's just people that watch trials, and it's easy to sit back on the sidelines and be critical, but like until you've done it, it's a lot. You know what I mean? Oh, Mark, something dropped on Delphi. 18 pages on Hennessy or by Hennessy. Oh boy, the shit's
By
going
the way,
down, dude.
I do want to say, because if you look at the comment on the channel, that's for folks who don't know, that's my wonderful wife, Shannon. She has her own channel, and she says Bob's Pod is the best. And that's kind of, for folks who don't know, me and Bob kind of met during Murdaugh. We were tweeting it both. And like when I was like, hey, babe, because folks who don't know, I didn't know anything about true crime, nothing. I don't listen to the before doing this channel. And she's like, holy shit, Bob followed you, and we follow each other. So if you want to give Mindful Crime Couture just a shot, follow her channel. It's amazing. She's working on a new Adelson case video for folks who are following the Adelson case. And she wouldn't lie about Bob's Pod. She was listening to for a while. She loves it. She'll trust her recommendation about the Defense Diaries podcast.
Yeah, and Shannon knows how much I love her. But yeah, Shannon, like from the get was listening to the pod. I think she's probably pissed at me because I'm super slow in getting the Garcia episodes.
She's always looking for the Garcia. She's always looking for the Garcia.
It's coming. I've got like the next one, and then I should have the next one that's going to come out after that in short order, because it's a lot of an interview that took place with our private investigator and their star witness. So it's a fascinating case. Like that case, much like Delphi, was a shit show in a lot of ways, and it was hard fought. So, all right, let's dig into some James Crumbley. See what's going on.
It might rest, folks. We're not sure, but they had a pretty decent meeting after the last witness to discuss, what's going down. So we shall see.
James, I just want to tell you, your hair looks super greasy today. I want you to take a shower tomorrow. The jury's seeing your greasy hair, and they're judging you. Oh, Ned.
So, Bob, you did say so. Chad is the same deal, or it will be streaming, or it's the same audio.
It is going to be streaming, so it's going to be like we can watch that one. And dude, like that trial, like just with the shit, like with the whole, like this.
Oh yeah, I definitely want to do that if that's. Yeah,
dude, it's a thing. It's a thing. Like I was like so.
Your Honor, calling people versus James Crumbley, case number 22279-989 FH.
Thank you, Marquise.
Yeah, so April 1, Jay, on that one.
Let's do it,
man.
I'll do it.
Your name and on behalf of James Crumbley, who's standing to my left. Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Williams, would you mind? William Creer.
I mean, we covered some of the lorry together, and it really is the stuff that with that cult or whatever you want to call it. That
yeah, I mean that's what it was. It was like some bastardized version of the Mormon religion that and like so like Alice and I were trying the best that we could to learn as much about the Mormon religion and kind of the offshoots of it. And I think people are quick to correct us, and I was like, look, like we're not gonna like there's no way we're gonna know everything about the Mormon religion. So if we screw things up, tell us. You know, I want to be accurate. I'm big on just facts, and I certainly make mistakes, and I own them immediately, and I correct them. You know, the storm. That's right, Fofa. Yes, they're searching. They're searching. The storm. That's Jay. Just in case you don't know, Chad Dayball
Oh, I know.
referred to his Johnson as the storm.
Yeah. What a thing to call
Dude, God.
your bits and pieces.
Danielle, what's up? Thank you. It's a treat that you're here with us.
Testimony about to go to the truth to help you out.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, please be seated, and then would you state your name for the record and spell your first and last name?
I already love this guy. I could tell.
Record, my name is William Creer. First name's common spelling. Last name spelled Creer.
Go ahead, Pastor.
All right, thank you. Mr. Creer, I just want to acknowledge that you just came from a very long shift, so you're a little tired. So we're not going to keep you on the stand very long. Can you tell the jury what your job is?
No problem. I'm a forensic technician for the Detroit Police Department. We commonly call it a crime scene investigator. My job is to go to the crime scenes, take pictures, collect evidence, and generate a report and testify in court like I'm testifying now.
Okay, so as your job as a
That's
crime
right,
scene,
Cammy. There's no escaping
did you
the
say
storm.
investigator?
That's fine.
Okay, it's important to distinguish, are you a member actually of law enforcement?
I work for law enforcement, yes.
All right, are you considered a police officer?
No, I'm not.
All right, is that then, would you consider yourself a civilian?
Yes.
All right. How long have you worked as a crime scene investigator?
20 years.
And all of those years have you worked for the Detroit Police Department?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to draw your attention to December 4th of 2021. Were you working that day?
Yes, I was.
And are you on shifts or are you on call? How does that work?
And we're on shifts. My shift I currently work on is from 12 a.m. to 12 a.m. to 8 a.m.
And are you at home during this time or call when necessary, or are you actually in an office?
I'm in the office.
Okay. On December 4th, were you dispatched that day, if you know, to an address of 1111 Bellevue in Detroit?
Yes, I was.
Okay. Do you know about what time you received that dispatch?
I believe around 2 o'clock.
In the morning?
Yes.
Okay. Were you aware if there was a search warrant that was being executed?
The request we got over radio was there was a search warrant executed at that location.
And what were your initial thoughts when you were dispatched to the location about what your purpose there was?
All we knew at the time was a search warrant at the location. We really didn't know anything else about it previously until we pulled up.
All right. And when you pulled up, what was your observation?
Objection, Your Honor, relevance.
When he pulled up to the scene, don't pull the roll.
Thank you.
A lot of news cameras around, so we were like, okay, this is interesting.
In addition
Agreed.
to the news cameras,
Brooklyn.
though, what
Charlotte
was
would
the scene
definitely
like
be
in
an
terms
upgrade
of,
to Kate
was
Middleton.
law enforcement already on scene? Did you know what had happened in that scene?
At that time, we didn't still exactly have any of the real details. All we knew at the time was it was a search warrant. And we were there to collect evidence regarding the search warrant. And when we pulled up, there was, of course, like you mentioned before, news cameras all around and heavy police presence.
All right. And then what happened?
Then when we reached the scene, we talked to the officer in charge, and then that's when we were notified what this case was actually involved with.
And what were you told?
That the case was involving
Can
Crumbley.
you just raise your voice just a little bit, please?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
I
okay.
was trying to.
I knew you could speak louder.
No problem. Case was involving the shooting incident, and this was the location that search warrant was being authorized, and 2 people were arrested.
Is that all you were told?
Yes.
And were you directed to a certain part of the building?
Suite 130 of the location you mentioned.
Were you by yourself or with someone else?
I had a partner.
And who's that?
The partner, Stephanie Sparks.
Do you normally process the scene by yourself or with another partner?
Midnight, you process scenes with partners.
Okay. And once you arrived at the suite, were you and your partner the only one there? Were you the only ones there, or who else was there?
The scene was secured by the police, by the church police.
What does that mean, secure?
Means that it's secured, so that way there's no outside interference coming inside the building, no one tampering with evidence, and everything is there as it was when the search warrant was executed.
And is that a typical thing and that you encounter in your job? That do you arrive to scenes once it's cleared and secured, or are you sometimes there at the same time? A lot's going on.
Oh no, we're there after the scene is secured.
Okay. So what is your job when you arrive on the scene that day?
When I arrive at the scene, we talk to the officer in charge of the scene. We then walk through the scene. He points out items of interest.
Remember, keep your voice up.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
He points out items of interest that he might want collected. My partner and I would then walk through the scene. We'll also pay attention and see what's around. We then would suggest additional items, if any, to collect, and allow us to look around a little bit more. And then after that, we take pictures, collect evidence, and package evidence, turn it in.
All right, Mr. Kerr, is there a difference between collecting evidence and searching?
Yes,
And are you assigned to do both?
it depends on the situation. Yeah, in this situation, we collected the evidence. The search warrant was already executed, and we looked around additionally.
All right, and what makes you start searching other places?
The fact that we looked around and said, yeah, the OIC, I can't remember the name at the time, gave us permission to look around a little bit more.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's been marked as people's exhibits 306, 307, 309 through 320, 322 to 358. I believe these have all been admitted. Mr. Pierre, what is that?
That's the scene location.
All right. And,
Again, it's the north side of the scene location.
okay.
Again, we're at the north side of the scene location.
All right. Can you see the windows on the suite that you searched?
I believe the windows on the scene we searched, because of the actual suite 130 is located on the northeast side of the building. So I would say the two windows closest to the left side of the screen.
Okay. And then, do you know what this is?
Yes, that was the vehicle we were directed to at the crime scene.
Oh,
Yes,
you
sir.
also searched the vehicle.
No, we didn't search the vehicle. We
Okay.
took pictures of the vehicle.
Okay, got it. What did you learn about the car? Anything? Did you take pictures of anything around the car, in the car?
We took pictures around the car, and then also around the car there were cigarette butts we collected.
You collected the cigarette butts?
Yes, ma'am.
And what is this a picture of?
Those are pictures of the cigarette butts.
All right, do you remember how many were there?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay. Did you bring a report with you today?
I did bring it.
Would that refresh your recollection?
It would.
All right, could you have a look at it and just let me know when you are ready to answer that question?
I don't understand. What did they find? What is this witness for? Why do they need this guy?
Collected a total of 14 cigarette butts.
Okay. Anything else around the car? Is that a picture? What are we looking at?
The picture is behind the vehicle and more cigarette butts.
And you collected those?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and 312 and then 313. What is that?
That's suite 130.
Okay. Is that where you searched?
Yes.
All right. And is that typical? You just take pictures of, what do you take pictures of as a matter of protocol?
No problem. We take pictures of the area. In this particular situation, that's the actual room number. So of course we took pictures of the front door and room number. As we enter through, we'll take pictures of to see if there's any damage to the door, if any, if the door was breached, if it wasn't breached, if there was any damage at all.
Was there any damage to this door?
None observed.
Okay, and the next slide is 314. Do you recognize that?
Yes, that's the actual scene inside of the scene location 130.
Okay. And then 315, is that also from a different angle?
Yes, as we enter the room, that would be to the north.
And those windows that we see, do you know where they face?
They are also facing north.
would those be the windows you just pointed out in the previous slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. This is another angle,
Yes, ma'am.
okay? And what is this?
This is directly in front of the door, so that would be to the east side of the building.
Did you observe a mattress in this building, in this room?
There was a mattress at home.
Do you see it in this picture?
You kind of see it towards the bottom of the screen. Yeah, right there.
Okay. And the next slide,
To the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, you see the mattress with the drawers on top of it.
oh, that's the mattress?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. And then I'm just gonna show you some slides, pictures of the scene, and you can just describe what angle it is and what you, if you see anything of significance to point out to the jury.
Yeah.
Okay,
Again, you see the mattress, you see the drawers. You also see going just to the right of the mattress.
remember
towards
to
the
keep your
edge of the
voice
screen.
up a little bit.
Sorry,
Mhm.
to the right of the mattress towards the edge of the screen, you see a table with 2 solo cups.
Right there,
Yes.
okay. What is this?
Again, we're right at the mattress. At the, I guess that would be the left side of the mattress, you have some clothes and a baseball cap.
Okay, and the next slide. What's significant about this, if anything?
You got the mattress in the bottom right hand of the picture. Towards the left hand of the picture, right in front of the little shelving units on the floor, you have a Snipes clothing bag.
All right. And at some point, did you remove the items in the bag?
Yes, ma'am.
Is this the picture of those items?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell the jury what we found?
You see in the picture a few pairs of socks, receipt, sweatshirt.
And are the socks, do they appear to be worn or new?
Those are brand new.
All right, do I see a receipt in that picture?
Yes, you do.
Okay, we're gonna get to that in just a second. The next slide, what are we looking at?
You're looking just, that's the mattress to our right, and to the left, there's some shelving units, but right in the middle, there's a sweater.
Okay, just for context, when you say right or left, when you're looking at this picture, where's the door?
Got you. The door would be to the west of the mattress.
So to the top right of the,
It'll be just to the, on the right side of the screen, towards the right border of the screen.
okay. And is that the article of clothing we just saw in the previous
Yes, ma'am.
slide? Okay, what is it?
It's a sweater, as I mentioned before.
All right, do you know if it's male or female?
Looks like a female sweater.
Okay, and the next slide, where did this come from?
Right now, if I remember correctly, this is gonna be towards the east side of the room, and that's just a regular shirt, and you see further on a few pairs of other articles of clothing.
Okay,
Oh, now he's gonna
Next
fold his
slide
fucking shirt. What about at the house, dude?
is,
Now you're folding your shit? Wow.
where is this in relation to the room?
In relation to the room, you see through previous slides, there was a table. The table would be along the south
Is the
side.
table right next to the mattress with the solo cups?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
This area is behind the table, and that's a pink book bag. Was in a plastic tote container.
was the
Jay,
tote,
pause it real quick.
Did it have a lid on it, or was it without?
I don't want E. Carroll to get pissed at me talking through the testimony. So, like, if you guys aren't figuring out what's going on, so obviously this is all relating to the, fleeing and eluding. And clearly what they're trying to establish here is that they were holed up, that they were there. They're showing that the guy was out there smoking all the time, that they were there, that they were hiding out there actively, that this wasn't them staging themselves to get ready to turn themselves in the morning. They were there, they were hiding out, and, that they'd settled in, and, until they could make the break to Canada, which is what the word on the street is, where they were trying to go. So that's what they're establishing here by showing it's got that lived in look, right? Like, dude was obviously out by the car smoking all the time, 14 butts, which, if you're a heavy duty smoker, that's like, a little over a half a pack. Back in Allison smoking days, she'd go through that in like 3 hours. So, but that's what they're trying to establish here, even though it seems.
And really, everyone knows what you should do if you're going to flee is buy a one-way ticket to Vietnam. Don't hole up.
Always. Yeah, I mean, dude, like, that's not going to
With or
work.
without?
Without
The
Okay.
Vietnam thing always
Um,
works.
Every
No,
time.
it
Do you
doesn't.
know, did anybody take the
Till they
lid off,
catch you
or
at
was
the
it found
airport
like that
because they're
when
monitoring you.
the individuals were
Yeah,
arrested?
that's right,
That's just
Travis.
Your Honor, speculation. I don't know how he would know that.
And
I
hello, my
started
friend.
out with, do you know?
No,
Do you know?
I don't recall.
Okay, thank you. And was there anything else in this container other than the backpack?
I'd have to go further through the pictures.
Okay. What is this?
That's the table that is right in front of the tote with the book bag.
Okay, and can you tell the jury what was on this table?
You have foodstuffs like bananas, orange juice, a Fergus bottle, a Coca-Cola bottle, Solo cups.
All right. And the next slide.
Next side, we're right back at the tote with the book bag.
All right. And what's this?
This is the part where we're getting ready to go through the tote, through the book bag that we just pulled out of the tote.
And what do you see?
I'm
I'm sorry. What did you find in the backpack?
Okay, to the left of the book bag, towards the top of the screen, you have a smaller little bag, and you also, as we're going to go progress through the pictures, you're going to see various articles of clothing. As well.
Okay. Next slide.
Again, we're going through progressing through the pictures. You have various articles of clothing, and we still have that little smaller bag. Right
Thank
there
you,
on top of the
Tam.
book bag.
Was there anything
Yeah, we
in
love
that
you,
bag?
Tim. We appreciate
I have
those
to look at my
comments a
first
lot.
one.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm doing double duty, y'all. I'm trying to read through this Delphi motion. So if you're wondering what I'm looking at, I'm reading it
I
on
figured.
the screen.
I think
behind the
we
screen.
all knew, Bob. We all knew.
Oh, Jay, am I that transparent?
I sure did. I'm like, I know, Bob. I saw you read that comment. I'm like, there he's going.
There, he's off. He's off to the races.
I don't believe that's the very first. Do we have the rest of the pictures?
Sure. What's to the left on there?
To the left, you have a pair of black jeans.
Do you know if they're male or female?
I believe they're female.
All right. And the next slide is 332. What is that a picture of?
Another picture, another picture of the black jeans.
Okay. And the slide after that.
You see the brand of the jeans. You see their high-rise skinny stretch jeans, and you can see the size on the tag if you zoom in.
All
That's
right.
size 12.
Okay. And the next slide.
Uh,
Where were these articles found?
Those articles were inside the pink book bag.
Okay. And can you tell the jury what is in that picture?
And inside the picture, you have you see a syringe. I'd have to go through my notes to recall what was actually inside the syringe. You also have some pills just at the bottom of the screen, and then on the inside the bag, you also see a bank envelope.
A what?
A bank envelope.
A bank envelope. Okay. Do you know what the pills were for, or what they were?
Now it's top of my head.
Is it in your report?
Let me look at my report.
Okay. Yes. And while you're doing that, would it refresh your recollection about the syringe?
Yes, because
Okay.
I would call that definitely a bank.
Okay.
Seed. Okay, the syringe was the Exceed. It's the prescription for medication for a horse.
Okay.
That's the syringe that you see in the picture inside the bag. And I don't have a description of the pills.
Okay. In the next slide,
Guys, if you missed that, apparently the syringe was for their freaking horse.
you see a
Aw.
better description of the back of the
A
pills
horse, a
there.
horse, of
Yes.
course, of
Does
course.
that refresh your recollection?
Yes, I believe they're like caffeine pills or something like that.
Ooh,
I-
ketamine.
All right.
Easy,
In the
Mandy.
next slide, that's what you just talked about.
I'm
Yes.
K-holing.
All right.
I'm K-holing.
What is this?
Those are the articles of clothing I described earlier.
And can you list those?
They are female intimate garments, underwear and bras.
And do you know how many pair of underwear?
Now,
That's right, Susan. You can get some reasonably priced
next
pharmaceuticals
slide.
up in Canada,
What is that?
unlike
that
here.
is the hotel room key. It was inside a black jacket, and that was along the
Jerry.
northeast corner of the room.
Okay. And the next slide is 339. What is this?
It's a picture of a whiskey container. It's in a garbage can.
All right. And the next slide is a receipt. What is this receipt for?
It's from the River Town Market. We found the receipt on the table. As you see on the So we go through the pictures. You have the various items that are on the receipt. I believe the next picture also has the date on the receipt as well.
Oh, yeah. Did a little shopping, Jay.
What is this?
Did a little shopping.
That is going to be a plastic tote with an avocado inside the tote.
Okay. And I remember last
I
time you
love
testified,
avocado,
you weren't
Jay.
sure what that was.
Love it.
And since
I don't
learning
like
it was
Jay, do you
avocado
like-
like by itself.
Okay.
I like
What
guac.
else
I like
is in that
guacamole, but
picture
like
with the
avocado by
avocado?
itself. I don't like it.
It's a
Guacamole, Jay, is
aluminum
delicious.
container,
I love
delicious.
similar to what you would use
So
for,
good.
like
I love
Lasagna?
avocado,
lasagna.
like in general. It's like
Okay,
my
and what's
substitution
inside
for
of it?
cheese.
Melting ice in ice bag.
That's a
So there,
lame.
was
Get
fucking-
that creamy.
Was it completely melted or was
I know,
it still
dude.
cold?
I'm
At the time, it
lactose
was
intolerant or
Oh
whatever.
shit.
Completely
It sucks.
Yeah, at the time it's completely melted.
I
Was it
love
still cold?
cheese.
Okay. The next slide. What is this?
It's a receipt.
Is it the receipt that we just talked about at Rivertown?
I would have to look at the picture before because you see at the top of the receipt has 14, and on a previous picture. Yes, that's the bottom of the receipt.
Okay. And what's the date on that?
The date on the receipt is 12/3/2021.
And at the time you are searching this, is it December 3rd or December 4th?
It will be December 4th,
Okay. And the actual time of the purchase?
4:09 p.m.
Okay. The next slide is, what is it?
Yeah, this picture of the mattress we talked about earlier.
Okay. The next slide is 344. Tell the jury what this is and why you took a picture of it.
This is a picture of the totes that will be around the east side of the room. The reason why we took pictures of the totes is because we saw the one tote that was already open before. These totes look kind of funny or kind of just look like they kind of was messed with or jostled with at the time. So we decided to take pictures of it.
Okay, and just so that the jury understands, I want to go back to slide 14. You have that number? It's to show there. Maybe this one. Starting on. Okay, so do I have this right? There were 2 separate plastic totes that you discovered items in?
Yes.
Okay, and were they found in the same place?
No.
All right, you testified earlier that the tote with the pink backpack, where did you find that?
The tote with the pink backpack, if you go through the picture, you see the table just to the left side of the screen in that corner. That's where the one tote with pink bag is located.
So how far away from the mattress?
It's the mattress, table, and the tote.
Okay, so a foot, 2 feet?
About a foot.
Okay.
About a foot, yes.
Okay, and then you said you searched and discovered more items in a different tote.
Yes.
And
Those,
where was that?
towards the top of the screen, you have the yellow scaffolding, whatever, holding the totes. Then behind that area, behind the table right there would be the next area of totes.
Okay, so is it on that scaffolding you found it?
Right behind it.
Right
Right
behind,
behind the table.
right behind there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so was that visible when you walked into the room?
No, as you walk into the room, you look around, you know, during the search of the area.
Okay, so that tote that was found on the other side of the room, what was discovered, if anything, in that tote?
And that tote, that's where we found the purse with the money, as we go through.
Okay, one moment. Okay. Was the tote found in that condition? And I guess what I'm asking is, was there a lid on it?
You see the lid on it. As we take pictures, you see it as we progress.
Okay, next slide. What is that?
Again, you see the tote being moved over a little bit, and you see the purse.
Okay. What is this?
Yes, now we're looking inside the purse.
All right. And then the pictures, is this how you do it? You take a picture of the first item and then all of the things that you take out of it?
Yes, ma'am, we take a regression.
Okay. Sorry, you told me that. All right, next slide. What is this?
You see the bank envelopes, you see a search warrant under the bank envelopes, and you see the 2 bank envelopes as well on top of it.
A search warrant, what is that?
As you see at the top of the screen is the warrant tabulation return.
Okay. And that was found in the bag or in the tote?
The bank envelopes were found in the purse. The search warrants were just on the table.
Okay. And then the next slide, what is that?
You're again looking inside the purse and you see cash right in a smaller pocket of the purse.
Was there anything in the bank envelopes?
Yes, there's money in the bank envelopes as well.
All right, and you see cash in this picture. Is this separate in addition to what you found in the bank envelopes?
Yes.
Okay, and if you remember, and if not, you can look at your notes. How much total, what was the total amount of cash found in that handbag?
I'd have to look at the notes. I know it was around $6,000.
Do you want to just correct?
Yes.
Make sure you're correct.
Dom's mom, thanks so much for the PayPal.
$6,617.
Okay.
Dom's mom coming through. She always does. She's an always giver, Jay.
And those are,
Yes.
we'll get to it. I'm
She
not gonna
is.
do that again. Okay, next
He
slide.
said, for making my day more palatable.
That's just a close up.
We appreciate
Yes,
you
ma'am.
being
Aw.
All
here.
right, this slide
So
after
sweet.
this. This is exhibit 350, and there's kind of a lot going on in this picture. Can you explain to the jury what you see?
No problem. In the picture, you see 4 cell phones. One of the cell phones appears to be busted and broken. Those are the
Hey, Karen.
condition of the cell phones. Those are the condition we collected the cell phones. You also see the keys just to the left of the cell phones. They were collected. They were turned over to the unit at the scene so they can collect them in the car. You also see a bank
True
card
story, Patricia.
and some prescription.
There's no in between
medications
on
top,
avocado.
Just to the top and left of the bank card.
Okay, the next slide.
That's a closer picture of the keys.
And the bank card, is that a traditional bank card, if you know?
No.
Okay, the next slide.
You have a closer picture of the medication I mentioned before.
And do you know what these medications
Ned.
were?
No.
Thank you so much, Kim. I don't know if you know this, Bob. Ned is actually Kim. She says, free Kate Middleton. Didn't mean to hijack the chat, but where's Kate Middleton? That's my fault. Sorry for getting you down that rabbit hole, Kim, but thank you so much for the super chat.
I see
It's a deep one. It's a deep one.
Okay, do you know who they're
There's so much
prescribed?
out there, folks.
You see Jennifer Crumbley on all 3. Well, you can see it better on the bottle to the right. In the other 2 bottles, you can kind of see Jennifer and Crumbley.
All right, and the next picture?
So again, it's a picture of the 4 cell phones.
Were any of these cell phones powered on?
No,
How do you know that?
because if they were, we would take pictures of the items in condition that we collected.
They were all off.
Exactly.
And then the next picture? What is this?
It's pictures of the money we collected from the purse.
So you actually lay out each bill?
Yes,
Okay. And the next photo,
more pictures of the money.
and the 2 after that?
Yep.
All right, and then the last photo here is there was a receipt. Can you tell the jury what the time and date is on this receipt?
12/3/2021.
And what are the items listed?
Giant lasagna pan, Vernors 2-liter bottle, paper towel, Kleenex.
Thank you.
Bob.
Yeah.
Check it. Dom's mom, she said you went through Venmo.
Oh, Dom's mom.
At what
You were
time do
the
you
sweetest
estimate
of all.
the search
Thank you
was
so
completed?
much.
I have to look at my
I think
notes
that's
there.
like my first or second only like
Say
Venmo.
the time. Does it around
Like
5
gift.
a.m. sound
Yeah,
right
around
to you?
5 a.m.
Okay.
Oh,
and then
thank you. I
what-
got it.
when
Thank
you
you
were
so
done,
much,
what
Dom's
did you do?
mom.
What
We were directed to take pictures of the prisoners.
And is that a normal thing in your job?
I just got one from Carolyn A. I got a $10 of Canadian dollars from Canada. Thank you so much, Carol.
Oh,
And
I
we were
know.
directed to
Canadian
Okay,
money's the
so
best, dude.
where were these individuals located?
Oakland County.
Jiffy Giant
So you-
lasagna
Did you
pan.
drive straight to the jail?
When we were directed to, yes.
Okay.
Oh, Jay, they got Verner's
As soon as you
ginger
finished the
ale.
search?
Yes.
Operation, okay. And when you arrived at the Oakland County Jail, what did you do?
We took pictures of both the Crumbleys individually. First, we took pictures of.
I mean,
Mr.
Jessica
Crumbley
sounds like
first, and
she was going to make some lasagna,
And
maybe.
what's the purpose of that?
The purpose of it was the fact that show any injuries if there are any, and the condition when they were arrested.
Okay, thank you very much. Nothing further.
It's like wooden
Sorry, I didn't
chips.
hear the end of your response.
If there are any injuries or their condition when they were arrested.
Thank you. Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, thanks, Missy. I love reading grocery lists.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
As a forensic technician, your role is to document what you see at a scene, correct?
Yes, ma'am?
Your role is not to investigate what may have occurred prior to your arrival.
No, ma'am.
That's it. You're done.
You testified
Get
that when
out.
you arrived at 1111 Bellevue, that there were a lot of news cameras.
Yes,
There were a lot of law enforcement, if you recall.
yes.
It was kind of a chaotic scene.
I wouldn't say chaotic, but it was officers and cameras at scene.
You were told that you were notified. You were not notified what the case was involving before arriving at 1111 Bellevue. Is that correct?
Exactly.
You were only told that it was a shooting incident.
We were told that we were collecting for a search warrant.
For a shooting incident.
Antioxidants,
We
my
were told
clad.
we were collecting for a search warrant.
Okay,
Good
so you
job,
weren't
man.
told anything.
Again, as my report says on the first page, as you look at the first line, the information received, received a request to process the scene of a search
Me too,
warrant and
Brooklyn.
arrest at the address 1111 Bellevue from District 1 Dispatch.
And I thought that in your direct testimony with the prosecutor that you said that you were notified that the case was involving a shooting incident and that 2 people were arrested.
Your Honor, I just
that-
wanted just to clear up, I'm not sure at the time of when you.
Big time, Brooklyn. Me too.
At the
Give
scene
me the
versus
man a
before
cop.
he left. So I just want a clarification.
Do you recall testifying in that way?
No, what I said.
So do I, my clad.
This specific time was when we were informed from District 1 it was search warrant. When we
The man.
arrived, that's when we understood it was connected to the shooting incident.
So after you arrived at
Jay,
1111.
Jay, did you get the
Thank you for
gabagool?
clarifying
Get
that
the
for me.
gabagool, Jay.
Gabagool.
You said that when you initially get to a scene, you walk through and the officer in charge points out items of interest that he or she wants collected.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you may also walk through with your partner and identify additional things.
Yes, ma'am.
And we saw some of those things today, like the tote that you ended up taking photos of where the purse was. Is that
Yes.
correct? You testified that you collected 14 cigarette butts. And you can look at your report if you'd like.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hey, Miss Marple.
He said 14.
Yeah, 14.
He hasn't slept.
And it's your understanding that from your recollection, those cigarette butts were collected next to IKEA. We had a photograph of.
Yes, ma'am.
You testified that inside of the plastic bag in exhibit, well, I believe it was exhibit 334, that there was a bank envelope. Looking at the bag now, do you see what that was?
The picture's kind of blurry, but it's still
Hilarious, Jersey.
Okay, it doesn't look like a business card.
To me, it looks like a bank envelope with the black spots on top of it.
14 bucks,
Exhibit
Karen.
339, the prosecutor
14
asked you to
bucks.
look at the inside of a garbage can, if you recall, and there was a whiskey bottle inside the garbage can.
Yes.
You don't know how that whiskey
Oof.
bottle got there?
No.
You have no knowledge of how long it had been there?
No.
You have no information about it whatsoever?
No, all I know is the whiskey bottle.
Kangaroo
And you were
meat.
just taking a photograph
Jesus.
of what was on the scene when you got there?
Yes, ma'am.
Sounds gamey.
In Exhibit 347, you talked about bank envelopes and a search warrant tabulation return, which was on a table.
Yes.
It wasn't hidden anywhere, correct?
The
The-
search warrant or
The tabulation was not hidden anywhere. It was just sitting on a table when you took the photograph?
Yes.
My mind's
And
spinning
you
on the
completed the
kangaroo
search
meat,
that
Jay.
you arrived
Dude,
on scene around 2 a.m.
just
and you were
typed
done
that.
around
You guys
5
really
a.m.?
eat fucking
Yes.
kangaroos?
One moment, Your Honor.
Is it when they're done boxing? Is it when they retire from boxing? You guys
Have
eat
you ever seen the
kangaroos?
fucking guns on some kangaroos, dude? Man,
I
like
saw that
I've
with
seen
that
some of those
viral clip.
videos. Oh my
Yeah,
god,
the
I love
dog
it.
where the kangaroo and the guy goes like boxes him. You guys
Oh
eat
my God.
kangaroos? Is that real? Are you fucking with
So
us?
does it like lean chicken or beef? Like I have to know. Is it
And the
gamey?
photographs that you took,
Is it like
you took
venison?
photographs of cash. You don't know what that cash was for. That's fair. Because again, you were just taking photographs of what was on the scene when you got there.
This cash in the purse for that collection.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Just one point for clarification. You said you took pictures for, in case there were document any injuries. Did you?
Objection, Your Honor. I didn't ask anything about those photographs.
She did.
I believe that she did.
Beyond the scope. Beyond the scope.
If
Objection.
not,
Kids.
I'm offering some clarification.
Your Honor, I would object to any questions about the photographs that were taken of my client
Beyond
after
the
he was
scope
arrested.
is
I
the
didn't ask
objection.
anything about that on my
That's
cross.
Yeah, I did see the scope.
Beyond the scope.
process.
That's the
She's
Okay.
not allowing it. Sit down.
This is excused.
Yes.
Thank you.
Rest, Dave. Come on, just rest. You want to. You know you want to.
You know you want to.
Tim Willis.
Damn it.
Mimsy, like the ruse will box your nose in. Like they will box your nose in. They are boxing dudes, man. And that kick. Yeah, they'll launch you.
Do you swear?
Yeah, I would not want to get
or
kicked by a
testify
kangaroo
this
ever.
Yes, Your Honor. Could you step up and have a seat
Suck.
and then state your name for the record, spell your first and last name?
Timothy Willis, TIMOTHY WILLIS.
Jay's got the tie clip.
May I proceed, Judge?
I see that.
Gotta
It's very
respect the man with the
fancy.
tie clip.
Thank you, sir. How are you employed?
Detective Lieutenant with the Oakland County Sheriff's Office.
How long have you been with the Oakland County Sheriff's?
Wow. Thanks, Lisa.
Approaching 28 years.
Did not know that.
You said you're a detective lieutenant right now?
Yes.
Tell us please what that means.
I oversee a handful of divisions within the Sheriff's Office, the Special Investigations Unit, which I know we've mentioned at court, the Fugitive Apprehension Team, our Computer Crimes, which Detective Wodrowski had worked for, and our Warrants Division.
Okay. And we'll get into some of that in a little more detail. Is it fair to say that you're the officer in charge of this case or one of the officers in charge?
Yes, that's fair to say.
Just to clear something up quickly, when James Crumbley was arrested on
Oh,
December
Missy.
2021,
So
did he have
good.
any injuries?
Such a dad joke.
Not to my
It's
knowledge.
delicious.
No.
Put that one up, Jay.
Now,
It's a
going
good
back to
one.
your role as detective lieutenant, we've talked a little bit about the special investigative unit. Can we talk a little bit more detail about that?
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us please, what sort of cases would a member of the special investigative unit handle?
Yeah, so the Special Investigations Unit is a support service.
Bet you're right,
arm of
Karen.
the Sheriff's Office. So we take a lot of
Bet you're right.
requests from other agencies, from our own substations. Oftentimes we handle political cases, complex cases, high-profile cases, things of that nature.
Okay, and prior to your current role, what other roles did you have with the Oakland County Sheriff's Office?
Yeah, prior to
Hoi
my role
polloi.
as the Detective Lieutenant, Special Investigations.
That's
I was
important, Jay.
also,
Remember that.
the Detective Lieutenant in charge of our Auto Theft Unit, our Friend of the Court Division, our Arson Division.
Okay. I'd like to direct your attention to November the 30th, 2021.
Okay,
Do you remember that day?
I do.
Were you notified of an active shooter situation at Oxford High School that afternoon?
Yes,
Can you tell us, please, where you were when you were made aware of that?
I was actually at the prosecutor's office at the time. I was made aware discussing another matter. The prosecutor and her chief assistant came in and advised me that there had been a shooting at the Oxford High School.
So what did you do?
I see
with
you,
that?
Ned.
What did you do
I
next?
see you, Ned.
For context, about, I don't know, a couple months before that, we had a false alarm, if you will, at another school. So initially, that was immediately what I went to, was this is probably another false alarm, but I picked up my phone and I made a phone call. I've thought about it a million times. I have no idea who I called, but I do remember the response was, this is a real thing, this is real.
Okay. So tell us what you did, please.
I obviously, ran downstairs.
Yummy
or took
Q.
the elevator downstairs, ran to my
Jay,
vehicle.
Yummy
and
Q just
we
gave me
proceeded to
a
the,
$20 holla of love.
Oxford High
Nice.
School with
Thank
my
you,
friends.
Cammy.
She's awesome.
Okay.
He's amazing.
Do you recall the approximate
every
time you would
way.
have arrived at Oxford High School?
I think it around 1:20 in the afternoon, approximately.
Okay. Tell us what you saw as you arrived on scene.
There was the largest emergency first response that I've ever seen in my career, and second place isn't even close. When I got there, there were students were being evacuated, and more and more officers were rushing in. EMS was on scene. I vaguely recall our helicopter flying above. It was just a something I'd only seen on the TV before, nothing I've ever experienced.
Okay. So at that point in time when you arrived, was the scene still active?
It was, yes.
I'm going to show you what's been admitted as people's 9.
I saw it down
Is that
small.
screen in
Thank
front of you
you.
working?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So this is a map of the Oxford High School?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And as you pulled up on scene, you made those observations. Tell us where you went next.
Just understand there's a lot of the day that I don't recall very well. So I don't remember where I parked. But I do remember going through the front office entrance area. It would be, you see office 200? That door right there? Yeah.
This door right
Yeah,
here?
I do remember going through there. It was being held open by officers. And that's where I met then Lieutenant Todd Hill, who was the incident commander.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, Brooklyn. Like Bob said, we're not going to stop, even though sometimes people get upset. This is, if he's talking about going into the school, you know this is going to be tough for folks. We take care of your mental health. If you need a break, turn something, turn it off, watch something else. We just want to make you aware that there might be some tough stuff here.
Yeah, and it seems,
But
Jay,
it's-
that they've shifted back to the shooting. So I think we're going to be getting into some tough stuff here.
Right.
Commander.
So Lieutenant Hill had assumed incident command because, as you can imagine, I explained to you, there was so much disorganization in the early, we had no idea what we were responding to. My police radio was blowing up with calls of, we think there's an additional shooter here. We think someone's fleeing from the scene here. It was chaos. So Lieutenant Hill assumed that role and started organizing resources for the sweeps of the school, for any secondary explosive devices
Cherry.
or any additional shooters, to identify victims, things of that nature. So that was going on as I had arrived at the school.
Okay. So we've identified you as, you've identified yourself as the officer in charge of the investigation.
That's correct.
That's different than incident commander, though?
Yes, the incident commander's role, especially in a case like this, because of the hundreds of emergency first responders that were flooding into the school. Lieutenant Hill, he's a captain now, so if I use him interchangeably, but Lieutenant Hill at the time handled the securing of the building, and evacuating wounded, injured, and because of my role in the Special Investigations Unit, the fact is that I was in charge of the Special Investigation Unit at the time, I assumed the role of the investigative lead, which is often referred to as the officer in charge.
Okay, if you could please give us a little bit of an idea of what an officer in charge typically does in a case.
So an officer in charge of an investigation typically, at its most basic, we investigate the scene, meaning we determine what property needs to be, or what evidence needs to be collected, what witnesses need to be identified and spoken to, identifying potential victims, things of that nature. We also work with the prosecutor's office to determine charging, whatever charges, if any, that are going to come from the incident.
Okay. Now, would it be fair to say that in this particular case, there's a massive amount of information that was reviewed?
Yeah, so one of the more problematic things about this case is the amount of information that was coming in. If you can imagine social media tips and emails and everything like that, 911 calls coming in. It was information overload, and all the best we could do was, just try to process things as they came.
Okay. Now, so it would be fair to say that you've reviewed the evidence in this case, at least in a supervisory role.
Yes, that's correct.
All right. I'm going to start off with your testimony where we left off the last few witnesses, and I'll go through the exhibits that have been admitted already. This is exhibit 361. So a little bit of background here, sir. Were you made aware that the defendant, James Crumbley, and his wife, Jennifer Crumbley's phones were seized the evening of November 30th?
Yes, as part of the, if I can back up just a second.
Sure.
So as the OIC, there was a point in time where I advised, and it was just announced basically, that if you're an investigator, come see me, because I knew there were so many things jobs that needed to be done. So a handful of investigators were sent to different hospitals, area hospitals, whether we knew that there were victims there or not. We had some reason to believe that there were victims being shipped everywhere. Lieutenant Marsban was handling, once that the shooter was identified, handling the scene at the shooter's address. Special Agent Brandon had come up to assist me in identifying the murder weapon. So there was just, and I actually had a scribe next to me just jotting down as fast as she could when I would make an assignment, who was doing it and what the assignment was, because it was just still a ton of information.
So I think we'll back it up a little bit further.
Okay.
Now you're aware of when James Crumbley was charged with involuntary manslaughter.
Yes.
Okay, when was that?
He was charged with involuntary manslaughter. I believe it was around noon on December 3rd.
Okay, so the shooting was Tuesday, November 30th, and there's Wednesday, December 1st, Thursday the 2nd, and Friday the 5th.
That's correct.
Okay. Now tell us, sir, what happens when someone is charged with a felony in Michigan?
So when the prosecutor authorizes the charge, gives it to the officer in charge, I take it before a judge and I swear to the facts of the case. It's called a swear to. And then the judge determines whether or not the information held within that complaint and warrant is sufficient to support a charge.
Okay, is that public or is that done in private?
That's all public.
And did you do that in this particular case?
I did.
Okay, you personally.
I did.
And was there also swear to of the defendant's son?
Yes,
Okay, that would have been Wednesday, December the 1st, 2021?
that is correct.
Okay, was that likewise public?
Yes, it was.
And when I say public, I mean open to the public.
There were, yes, open to the public and media present.
Okay. Was James Crumbley there for his son's swear to?
Objection under relevance.
Judge, the jury's going to get an instruction regarding 4.4. A lot of the evidence is regarding the timeline of where they were from November the 30th to December the 4th
Well,
in the early morning.
I think where they were and the knowledge they had is relevant, so I'm not allowed.
Thank you, Judge. Sir, Wednesday, December the 1st, there was a swear to of the defendant's son?
That's correct.
Okay, and was James Crumbley there for that?
He was not in person, no.
Okay. And he was on Zoom?
He was on a Zoom from what appeared to be his vehicle.
Okay, thank you. Now, we've already heard from Dave Hendrick, who was, at the time, the sergeant in charge of the Oakland County Sheriff's Office Fugitive Apprehension Team. Part of your role as detective lieutenant, would that be supervising the Fugitive Apprehension Team?
Yes,
Okay. So did you assign him with his task of locating James and Jennifer Crumbley on Thursday, December the 2nd?
I did.
Okay, and tell me about that, please.
So, as I stated earlier, the officer in charge of cases presents information basically to make it clear to a prosecuting attorney. The prosecuting attorney, in discussions with the officer in charge, determines what, if any, charges are going to come from it. We, at the time the shooter was charged, volumes of information was going into the prosecutor's office, and there was discussions on December 2nd about the possibility of charging the shooter's parents with involuntary manslaughter.
Okay, is that why you made that call to Sergeant Hendrick, or retired Sergeant Hendrick?
Yeah, what we knew at the time, the only thing that I knew at the time, and again, there was a lot of irons in the fire. The only thing I knew at the time is they weren't at their residence. They weren't actively staying at their residence. So I thought it was important that we try to locate them.
Okay. So now going back to Exhibit 361 on the screen here, you had mentioned that you had assigned Lieutenant Marsban with a search warrant of the defendant's home at 112 East in Oxford.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. And so that occurred on Tuesday, November the 30th, 2021?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And were you made aware that their phones were seized as part of that search warrant?
Yes, I was.
Okay. And all right. We talked a little bit about track phone or burner phone, how they're referred to interchangeably. Were you made aware, did you learn that the defendant and his wife purchased those phones?
I was,
Okay.
yes.
And so what's in Exhibit 361?
So this is a receipt from the Walmart in Lapeer, Michigan, and for the purchase of the track phones.
Okay, so just for a timeline, this is at November 30th, 21 at 8:01 p.m.
That's correct.
Okay. This is Exhibit 362. What are we looking at here?
This is a receipt for the Holiday Inn Express. So the shooting was on the 30th. They checked in on the 30th and they departed on the next day.
Okay. And do you recall where this Holiday Inn Express was located?
Yes, that's the Holiday Express in Lapeer.
Now, they checked out on Wednesday, December the 1st. Did you learn where they stayed that day, that evening?
I did.
Okay, this is Exhibit 365. What is this?
Yes, this is a receipt for the extended stay, check-in date in Auburn Hills. The check-in date is December 1st and the checkout date was December 3rd.
So December 1st is the Wednesday, the 3rd is the Friday. Is this the location, we heard from retired Sergeant Hendrick about a vehicle being abandoned. Is this the location he's referring to?
That's correct.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's in this 366. What do we have here?
This is the vehicle we come to learn to be the defendant's vehicle.
You said they checked out on Friday, December the 3rd?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tell us, please, the relative location from this particular hotel to the closest police department.
The Auburn Hills Police Department from that location is basically across the street. It's not far.
Now, regarding Exhibit 361, just so we're clear, it's your understanding that they were actually told to purchase these phones, is that correct?
That is correct. So Detective Sergeant Brian, who testified earlier, he had advised them, or maybe it was Lieutenant Marsban, I can't recall, but said, hey, look, we're taking your phones. At this point, it's evidence, and which is common. And then we often advise them, so you have a means of communication, because people don't typically have house phones anymore. We just automatically tell them usually to just pick up a couple of track phones.
Okay. And were they permitted to obtain contact information from their phones before they were seized?
Yes, they were.
Okay. Now, specifically on Thursday, December the 2nd, 2021, did you or members of your team uncover evidence that James or Jennifer Crumbley obtained cash through withdrawals?
That's correct.
Okay, this is Exhibit 367. What are we looking at here?
This is a withdrawal from Flagstar on December 2nd for the amount of $2,000.
Now, Mr. Rogowski, who testified about the burner phones, also mentioned replacement phones, so new phones with the old numbers ported to them. Did you learn when James and Jennifer Crumbley purchased those?
I did.
Right. This is Exhibit 368. What are we looking at here?
This is a T-Mobile in Owasso, Michigan, and this is the receipt on December 2nd at 11 a.m., 11:17 a.m. And this is where they purchased new phones with their original phone numbers on them.
Okay, so this is Thursday, December 2nd. At this point, they were staying at that hotel in Auburn Hills next to the police station, and this was purchased in Owasso, Michigan.
That is correct.
Do you know the relative distance between the two locations?
It's about an hour's drive per Google Maps.
Okay, each direction.
Yes, sorry.
So we saw the record that indicated they checked out of that Auburn Hills hotel on Friday, December 3rd. Did you uncover evidence that they had obtained more cash that day?
Yes, I did.
This is Exhibit 367. What are we looking at here?
This is a withdrawal from Flagstar on December 3rd for the amount of $4,000.
Was evidence uncovered to suggest that they had transferred money from their son's account?
Yes.
This is Exhibit 370. What is this?
This is a Flagstar withdrawal from Simply Kids Savings. There's two withdrawals. There's 1129,
In the amount of what?
$292, and then
Okay.
there's a second withdrawal on the 30th the following day of $3,000.
Okay, what was the balance left in this Simply Kids savings account?
The remaining balance was 99 cents.
Okay, and that was the day of the shooting, the 30th?
The 30th, yes, sir.
Do you know where the defendant and his wife went after they left the Auburn Hills Hotel?
Yes, once they left the Auburn Hills Hotel, they went to the address in Detroit on Bellevue.
Okay, and that's we've heard testimony from Mr. Kirtley and the Detroit police officers, 1111 Bellevue in Detroit?
1111 Bellevue, correct.
Okay. I'm going to show you portions of surveillance video. We saw some of this earlier. This is different clips. This is exhibits 371 and 372. So 371 is first. And again, so we know the timestamp is actually 22 minutes off. I think we've already clarified that. So the record is clear. The actual time here is 10:58 a.m. Is that your understanding as well, sir?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And just tell us, please, sir, when you see anybody you recognize.
The man walking with his phone, I believe, is the leasee of the suite or room or whatever that the Crumbleys were staying in.
That was Suite 130.
130.
Okay.
The vehicle coming in is the vehicle that we identified as Jennifer Crumbley's Kia.
And the Kia that was left at the Auburn Hills was identified as James Crumbley's Kia.
That's right.
Do you recognize either individual exiting from what was identified as Jennifer Crumbley's Kia?
I recognize both individuals,
Okay. Tell us who, please.
James Crumbley and Jennifer Crumbley.
And where is the defendant, James Crumbley, in this video?
He's walking up now.
Okay.
Sorry.
Right here?
Correct.
Okay. Now, this is the location they were found at 1:30 a.m. the next day, is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
1111 Bellevue, okay.
Yep.
Now, that car was pulled in with the front facing forward, is that right?
That is right.
Okay, did you come to learn that the defendant moved that car subsequent to pulling up at 10:58 a.m.?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what's been admitted as 372. So this is just before 4 p.m. on December the 3rd?
That's correct.
Charged with 4 homicide offenses. It would be about 4 hours after he was charged with 4 homicide offenses.
That's correct.
Aaron, I would object to that question. Mr. Keast indicated that James Crumbley was charged with homicide offenses.
This is a homicide.
I think we've been clear that this is an involuntary manslaughter case, Your Honor.
It's a homicide.
It goes by both names. It's, the title of the charge is homicide and involuntary manslaughter.
Right.
You're both right.
Yes. It all falls
sir.
under homicide
Yes.
statute.
So
I was
the-
telling you guys that yesterday.
That was at 4:17. At 4 o'clock was the time that the judge had ordered the defendant and his wife to turn themselves in.
Okay, so when it became clear that they hadn't turned themselves in, was their license plate made public?
Yes, it was.
Was the license plate on the front or the back of the vehicle?
In Michigan, we only require the license plate on the rear of the vehicle. I've worked fugitive investigations. Oftentimes, fugitives will back into a spot to attempt to secure, hide their license plate, and also it's easier to get away if necessary.
Okay, now, correct me if I'm wrong, but there were no arrangements to have a surrender with this defendant or his wife, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so at the time this occurred, there was no plan with law enforcement to turn himself in.
No, sir.
And in fact, someone with a valid felony arrest warrant, they don't get to choose when they get to turn themselves in, do they?
Absolutely not.
Now, sir, I want to go back to November the 30th, 2021. In the afternoon, you had already assumed investigative.
Poor man's Bonnie and
investigative
Clyde.
command. Would that be right? While
The
you're
greasy-haired
Yes,
Bonnie and
sir.
Clyde.
And
Greasy.
you said you met with Special Agent Brandon while on scene at the high school?
I did.
Okay, and what did you task him with?
I tasked him with tracing, well, frankly, he offered. He came to me and said, do you know who the registered owner of the gun was? And at the time, I did not. He testified earlier, and you heard that it was secured in a garbage can. One of our officers, upon the arrest of the shooter, pulled out the garbage bag portion of it and took just the plastic waste bin and put the gun to keep it all centrally located because searches were still going on and whatever. That officer turned it over to me. I took my post in the front office there. I sat it next to me. At some point during the day, Special Agent Brandon came to me and said, hey, have you identified the owner of this weapon yet? And I have not. So he's like, I'm the ATF. Sounded like a really good idea to have him track this down, and he got right on it.
Okay, and was that information relayed back to you fairly quickly?
It was.
And did you learn that that murder weapon was in fact purchased November the 26th, 2021?
Yes.
Now, you learned the identity of the shooter while you were still at the high school, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And you mentioned earlier that you had tasked Lieutenant Marsban with securing the family home and securing a search warrant.
Yes.
Now, at that time, did you know if there were any other casualties outside of the school?
We did not. Like I said, I've gotten some information from area hospitals that some wounded were coming in. So at that point, we're like, well, there's several hospitals in the general facility, so we had to assign officers out to different hospitals to make sure that we could locate and identify any potential victims.
Okay, so when you sent officers there, they didn't know what to find, what to expect.
No clue.
All right. Now, at some point, was there a concern about explosives in the school?
Yeah, so as I was stating earlier, I was getting sent and others were getting sent and observed Twitter, now X posts, Instagram posts, YouTube videos, and we had came across a YouTube video of the defendant's son making a secondary explosive device, potentially more commonly known as a Molotov cocktail, and detonating it. We, at the time, and we'll talk, I guess, about the journal, we found some information in the journal that suggests that there may be secondary devices in place within the school. That prolonged my ability to go and investigate the scene of the crime because we had to continually sweep to make sure the area was completely safe.
Okay, and in fact, did you have to call in a specialized unit to handle that?
We did, yes, Captain Hill, he activated the Michigan State bomb squad with their bomb dogs, and they came in with their robot.
Now, were you able to determine what area, what room or area of the school specifically the shooter left right before he began shooting?
Yes, it was the bathroom adjacent to room 258.
Okay, I'm going to show you what's been admitted as people 16. What are we looking at here?
This is the backpack and contents that the shooter was seen, observed wearing, walking into the bathroom prior to the shooting beginning.
Okay. Now, was this photograph taken after the location was made safe by the bomb squad?
That's correct.
Okay. And they didn't find any explosive devices?
They did not.
Okay. Now, what do you see in this picture? What was seized as evidence?
The most obvious thing is you see the book open, that is the shooter's journal.
Okay. Did you have the opportunity to review that journal?
I did. I have.
Were you able to identify it as being written by the shooter?
Yes, sir.
How were you able to make that identification?
There's, first of all, his name's in it. That was the most glaring way to identify that it was his. His writing is unique and it matched some homework and other writings that we saw. There's references to several incidents that occurred in the school within the month of November, things of that nature.
Okay, so you, from the content of the journal itself, you're able to put a time frame on when the journal was likely written?
Yes, sir.
And tell me about that.
The first date written would have been November 9th. But it did reference incidents that happened before that,
Okay, in the month of November?
in the month of November,
Okay,
yes.
as well as incidents that happened after that in the month of November?
Yes, sir.
How many pages of writing are contained in that journal?
22.
Okay, so is it filled with writing from front to back, or is it at different parts, or how is it
No,
organized?
it actually appears to be written from back to front, and it stops about a quarter way through.
Okay. Now, of the 22 pages, is there, I guess, a title page or something to signify the end of the journal, end of the writing?
There's, yes, I mean,
Okay.
to answer your question simply, yes.
So out of the pages with writing in that journal, how many contain reference to the school shooting?
All 22.
Now, for the record, I'm going to show you some of these slides, or some of these passages rather from the journal, and I'm going to refer to them by page number, and just so you're clear, sir, they're indicated page 1 from where the writing starts to page 22, which would be the back binding of that journal. Is that accurate?
Understood, yes.
Okay. Now, is the journal in written format or were drawings contained as well?
Both.
Okay. Were there any passages in this journal that you noted indicative of the shooter's request for mental health help?
Yes.
This is People's 359. Can you read what's written in this passage, please?
Yes. I have zero help, and help is bolded, for my mental problems, and it's causing me to shoot up the fucking school.
This is page 5. For the record, that was page 6 on the journal. Same exhibit, page 5. Could you read that, please?
Yes. I want help, but my parents don't listen to me, so I can't get any help.
That's page 5. This is page 19. What does this say?
My parents won't listen to me about help or therapists.
All right. Now, were there any journal entries about the shooter's desire to obtain a 9mm handgun?
Yes, sir.
Same exhibit, page 3. Can you tell us what this is, please?
Yes. The shooter writes, so we should be bound to get my SD 9VE soon.
Okay. Now, that specific term, SD9VE, did you see that
It's a
anywhere else in this case?
9mm.
Yes, I did.
This is People's 85 and 86. What do we see here?
This is a picture of a Smith & Wesson model number SD9VE that was for sale that was extracted from the defendant's phone.
Okay, and Mr. Rogowski testified this was from Monday, November the 8th, sent from the defendant's son to the defendant in a message that was deleted. Do you hear for that testimony?
Yes, I was.
Now back to the journal. This is page 22. Can you please read us what this says?
Yes. The shooter writes, I want to shoot up the fucking school so badly. Soon I am going to buy a 9mm pistol.
Same exhibit, page 17. Go ahead.
All I need is my 9mm pistol, which I am currently begging my dad for.
And page 22.
I will
This
have,
is the binding, right?
The binding,
22? Okay,
correct.
Go ahead.
I will have to find where my dad hid my 9mm before I can shoot the school.
And page 15.
Unfortunately, my dad does not want me to get the 9mm gun, and we are having financial problems, RN, for right now. And I don't have a job, so now I'm pissed because I want to do the shooting with a 9mm pistol as they are effective for killing. But RN right now, all I got is a puny 22 LR Keltec that I don't know where my dad hid it.
Okay, and we heard evidence in this case that James Crumbley obtained a 22 caliber Keltec pistol in June of 2021. Is that right?
That is right, yep.
Were there journal entries regarding the shooter's plan?
Yes.
Okay, here's page 3, same exhibit. Can you read this, please?
I'm about to shoot up the school and spend the rest of my life in prison.
Sir, did you find any journal entries regarding the shooter's access to the 9mm?
Yes, I did.
Same exhibit. This is also page 3. Go ahead.
Excuse me. First off, I got my gun. It's a SP 2022 6-hour 9mm. Second, the shooting is tomorrow. I have access to the gun and the ammo. I am fully committed to now. So yeah, I'm going to prison for life, and many people have about 1 day left to live.
Now, sir, we saw one of the journal entries that had the word help all bold that was across a couple of lines. Were there any other writings or passages in that bolded format?
Yes, there were, sir.
Were there pictures in the journal as well?
Yes, there were.
Okay, like what?
There's a picture of what appears to be an arm fully extended out with a gun pointed to the back of what appears to be a female's head.
Okay, and was that a little picture or a large picture?
It took up about that much of the page.
Okay, so to reference.
Oh, I'm sorry, about 3-4 inches of the page.
Now, was this journal a full-size book like this legal notepad, or was it smaller?
It was small. Far side.
Just going to mark this for a demonstrative exhibit. This will be 381. This is a demonstrative exhibit. Any first witness?
Objections?
No, Your Honor, just for demonstrative purposes.
Sure. Both pair of gloves. Just take that one.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is the final witness. It's powerful.
Yeah, seriously.
It's so sad.
Okay, can you just hold it up for the jury so they can see, please? And thank you, sir. And that's what's depicted here in Table 16 that we're referring to?
That's correct. If this was legal.
Yeah, first one.
Sure.
Would you mind putting it back in? Sir, we've heard evidence and we've heard the 911 call that James Crumbley made on Tuesday, November 30th at 1:34 p.m. You're aware of that call?
Yes, sir.
And you were in court when it was played?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, we've also heard testimony that the Meyer and Ray Road next to the high school was the emergency location for Oxford High School parents in case of emergency at the high school.
The reallocation point, yeah.
Yes. And did the police likewise notify the community of that as well?
Yes, they did.
Okay. Do you recall when that occurred?
I believe the first 911 call that the sheriff's office dispatch advised that the Meyer will be the relocation point was at approximately 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock that day. So just 10 minutes or so after the shooting.
Okay, so the shooting began at 12:51 p.m. This was 1 p.m. the same day?
Yes, sir.
Are you aware how many 911 calls were placed to dispatch in that time period?
Yeah.
Objection, Your Honor, relevance.
He's going to testify as to who identified their son as the shooter, Judge.
Okay, that's not relevant how many, existing, that's not relevant.
How many people identified their son as a shooter?
Just one.
Okay. Nobody else?
Nobody else.
Was there more than one 911 call?
There was.
Oh, I'm sorry, that is relevant. How many 911 calls is relevant, but I guess out of those, how many?
It gives the answer context, Judge.
Okay.
How many 911 calls were placed at that day?
112 were able to be answered within the immediacy of the shooting.
Okay, now those 112, how many identified their son as the suspect?
Just one, the defendant.
Okay, sir, as the officer in charge, you've reviewed the surveillance video of Oxford High School.
Yes, I have.
Okay. We're going to play that now. Judge, could you please instruct the media not to film?
Can you remind me how long it is? I just want to decide whether or not we're going to break first or after.
It's just a few minutes, Judge.
Okay, but there was nothing long. Okay.
It might be a good idea to speak right after.
Can you not videotape the video that we're about to play? And I also went over any victims or victims' family that we're about to play the video.
Your Honor, I'm objecting for the reasons previously stated.
I understand.
What video are they playing?
Sure.
I didn't catch it either. I was reading Mandy's comment. He does resemble Michael.
The timestamp and date stamp at the bottom here, November 30th.
Agreed,
2020.
Malibu.
This is at 12:46 p.m. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay, I'm going to
And prosecutor, it's correct, there's no audio.
correct. There's no audio. Let me know,
Oh,
please,
geez.
when
This
you
is going to be brutal.
recognize the shooter in this frame.
He just walked out and made a left. You'll be able to see him more clearly momentarily. He's about to enter right now.
Okay, the individual turning into the bathroom there is the defendant's son?
That is the defendant's son, yes.
Okay, so for the record, this is 12:46 p.m.?
Correct.
And this video it skips with time delay, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is 12:51 p.m.?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Hey, Miku. It's not a they. It's that weirdo Frank Wessling. I have no idea. So I take it we're not going to be able to watch the video.
Yeah.
Or hear it?
I think it's like security for it. I don't think there's any audio. Yeah, I've heard this. I didn't watch the first trial, but he has cried a lot, and I don't think Jennifer did show emotion, but I didn't watch the first one.
Yeah, she came off as a real cold fish, man.
I just don't get why he's not like I figured he would be talking about what's. Yeah, it would definitely make sense. They're going to end with this witness, and then we'll see what happens tomorrow. If it is the last witness. Oh, there is audio. They just muted it. Brooklyn says very explicit surveillance. The audio is very graphic. Thanks, Brooklyn.
Thank you. How is the jury hearing it? Do they have headphones, or they just muted it for everyone?
That's a good question. I think their biggest defense, B-Rab, is going to be that he had no idea that like his son would do this. That's what I think.
Yeah, they didn't put forward what's called an affirmative defense. It's basically a reasonable doubt defense, meaning that they don't think that the state will be able to meet their burden, which in this case, when we get to jury instructions, I'll go through it with us. And but essentially they have to be able to show foreseeability and willful disregard, that he was aware and did nothing about it, and that the kids paid the ultimate price.
By the way, folks, while we're kind of waiting here, Bob and I, we've been sharing, our mods have been sharing. Dizzy and Tracy have an amazing Discord. If you want court documents, you want dates of cases, you want one of the great things about notifications, because YouTube sucks at notification. If I go live, if Bob goes live, if Joe Jackalone goes live, publicly Buzz, you get a notification. So just for that, it's pretty great. So check out that Discord. It's called Seeking Justice, and they worked really
phenomenal.
hard.
Oh really man, good. And like, to be honest with you, Jay, because I'm a big document guy, obviously. I don't know if there's anybody quicker on the trigger. I mean, Dizzy, like, by the time I think I read there was a new motion filed in Delphi, Dizzy was already texting me that it's in my server.
It's great, man.
Yeah, and dude, she's next level. I was just telling the attorney I was talking to last night, I'm like, man, I knew Dizzy back when I was practicing law, I would have sucked her up and like hired her as my like legal assistant, like in a blink of an eye. Especially we can do it all remotely now.
The Docketeers.
Ah,
Nice one, Lamont.
The Docketeers. I like that, Lamam.
Hey, Helen. Good to see you. Discord, the way I think it's hard to describe. It's like it's an app, but it's a website, you know, and you just go into it, and it's like almost like a chat room, but it has a bunch of different servers with like you can have for each case for Delphi, for Koberger, for the Adelson. All right, I'll shut up now.
Yes, Lieutenant, you can step down, but you're gonna discuss your testimony with someone, right?
Smart.
Step down.
Smart.
Have about a 10-minute break.
Are they taking a break or no cross?
Break.
Okay. People need to take a breather after that shit, man.
Be seated and please remain seated while the defendant is removed.
All right, I'll keep an eye on this. Just wow, just want to thank you all, for being here and watching with us. We know there are other places you can watch it, so you watching it with us means a lot.
It means everything, really. Jay and
Yeah.
I would be just talking to each other like a couple of schmucks if you guys weren't here. So we're very, very grateful that you guys choose to spend your valuable time with us. And it means everything to both of us.
So did you check out that Delphi stuff? What's any new?
I'm reading it, dude. It's a fucking bombshell. It's so essentially what was filed today by the defense was what they refer to as a motion to compel, which is basically the defense saying that the state has refused to and or has slow played turning over discovery in the case. And I mean the stuff there, and it's 18 pages, dude. So it's a lot, and it's heavy duty stuff that they're saying that the state hasn't turned over. And you know the thing from the defense side of any case, if you have an understanding of how discovery works, we as defense attorneys have no idea what law enforcement has collected or what reports they've drafted. None. We don't have access to that. So there's an element of good faith, that the police and law enforcement are going to play fair, and that the state's going to play fair, and that they're going to turn over everything that they need to, whether, it harms their case or not. And as you can imagine from a prosecutor's perspective, they're probably not, chomping at the bit to turn over what could be exculpatory evidence. And the challenge for the defense side of it is we can't know what we don't know exists, and that's always the thing. That's why oftentimes when you get Brady violation type situations where, and Brady's a Supreme Court case wherein, the Supreme Court was addressing issues where, the state intentionally didn't turn over exculpatory evidence. And oftentimes, short of us going out with our PI and finding out that law enforcement may have interviewed a witness, and we find out that way, and then it turns out that we never got that report. It's tough for us to know as defense attorneys what they turn over and what they don't turn over. And in Indiana, it's different than Illinois. Like in Illinois, we cannot do depositions, which are, if you guys know what a dep is, that's It's sworn testimony. It's outside the presence of the courtroom. And typically you notice up a deposition, you get the witness in there. There's a court reporter in there. They're sworn in, and it's identical to testimony at trial. As it's sworn testimony, you can obviously use it. It doesn't constitute hearsay because it's sworn testimony. So you're not going to have those issues that, the hurdles that you may often have with hearsay, because it's all under oath. And, it's used oftentimes in terms of the defense side of it. It's huge because typically state's witnesses don't want to talk to us. When the state gets to them first and, we show up at their door or our PI shows up and we'll say, hey, we just want to interview you. We've got a police report. We see you made a statement. We had some additional questions, which is fair. We're not going in aggressively. We're just trying to gather the data. We're doing our duty. We have to investigate on behalf of our client, and typically what happens is they'll go in the house. They'll say, give me a minute. They'll call the prosecutor and they'll say, okay, well, defense guy's here, his lawyer's here. What should I do? And like the state is not allowed to say, you can't talk to them. There's no speaking to them because we have an opportunity to speak to everybody, all the witnesses. But what they can say is that you don't need to speak to them. You can just tell them, no, thank you. And, they're going to leave you alone, which is what happens a vast majority of the time. So in states where you're allowed to do depositions of both lay witnesses and expert witnesses prior to trial, it's huge. It should be that way in every state. I don't understand why it's not, because I think it's inequitable for defense attorneys to be stuck with just a police report, which is obviously written from law enforcement's perspective. And, if they've landed on a perpetrator, then obviously they've developed tunnel vision. So, everything that you read in that report is going to be tailored towards making the defendant look guilty. So, not having the opportunity to talk to these witnesses and ask our own questions, from a completely different angle is tough because you're basically going into trial blind. All you have is a police report, and you can't put a police report into evidence that's considered hearsay, and it doesn't fall under the business exception. So, which is scary. And if you know anything about cross-examinations, the number one rule is never ask a question that you don't know the answer to. That's how you blow your case up, but it's a scary proposition, and it's tough, because there's questions that you want to ask. And, if this shit comes back the opposite way of what you're hoping, it can completely derail your case. So, to have the ability to be able to depose is huge. And they're able to do it in Indiana. And so the defense was able to learn of a lot of things that exist in evidence that have not been turned over by the state. And
Is that from a
year
private
and a half.
investigator, like you said? Is that how they got it? How did they find that out?
No, this is from their depositions. So if they find out, during their depositions of law enforcement officers, which is who they've been deposing, that there was an interview that was done and it hasn't been turned over, then they know that McClelland hasn't turned anything over. And so you've got 68 paragraphs of shit that has not been turned over in a case that is discovery. The initial deadline was November 1st. That came and went. And then after they were reinstated, an additional discovery deadline was set for late December. And so that has obviously come and gone. Now, that's not to say if law enforcement develops new information or recovers new evidence as they're continuing to investigate. They always do. That's not unusual. There can't be late disclosures, but things that they've had forever and just are not turning over is bullshit. It's like, again, we're trying to have a fair trial here, for the girls, for Abby and Libby. And, just this kind of gamesmanship is bullshit. It's like, turn it over. Because if Rick Allen is the guy and the state has done what they've done and they fuck up this case to the point where they don't get a conviction and a guilty man walks, there is no worse situation in the world than that, because there is no second bite at the apple. It's over. double jeopardy attaches. There is no going back and saying, oh, Jesus, we really screwed this up. Can we have a redo? No, it's done. And on the flip side of that, if he's innocent, they're just prohibiting justice from being able to occur in the fashion that it was designed to happen. And man, the case is just a mess, dude. It's like
Is
such
this
a
now? Is this something where it seems like from when I've watched you, going over these things, Gull can just denies this shit and doesn't really like. It seems like she's super like doesn't give a shit. Like, is this their motion that they're making now? Is this something that she could just turn a blind eye to, or does she really have to
yeah.
make a ruling where? Yeah, she
No,
can just
dude,
be like,
that's like that's what she does. She she tends to review the defense's motion and then denies them without hearing. That's typically what she
right.
does. And and for some motions that's fine. I mean, if it's a legal argument motion, then where you're not putting witnesses on, that's not necessarily unusual for her to review both the memos and the accompanying briefs and decide on the law. But when she's doing that, she's not giving an opinion that has a basis in law in stating why she's denied it and what law she relied on in denying the defense's motion. She's just denying it without any explanation, which the problem with that is that the appellate court, like if Rick Allen's convicted and he files an appeal, the appellate court, all they have to go by is the record. And the record consists of motions that were filed, live testimony, court orders, trial testimony, and that's all they have. Like there is no, the appellate court isn't like another trial, so it's like any cases that we watch. And that's why I'm always telling you guys, I know that, and they've done very well in this trial, not in terms of not having like some overabundance of sidebars. And there's been a limited amount of objections, but the reason that that's done by both sides is to preserve issues for appeal. If you don't make proper objections during trial, that issue is considered waived by and large. So like when you're hearing objections, which can serve different purposes. I mean, certainly you can object in order to knock an attorney off their flow, but really you're objecting in order to preserve that issue for appeal down the road. So like when you guys just keep that in mind when you're getting annoyed, when you have a lawyer that's objecting all the time, like Shannon Smith objected a lot during Jennifer's. I mean, she needed to. I mean, that's going to be like, I guarantee you that thing's going to get appealed. And, I mean, she made a record, and she preserved a hell of a lot of issues for appeal that ultimately, it's going to go up the chain. If it gets denied on direct appeal, she'll then go to the next court. Ultimately, if it gets denied by, the Supreme Court of the state, then she'll probably, try the federal side of it, and see what they can get done there, or post-conviction relief act stuff. I mean, the kind of the post-conviction work is very lengthy and it takes forever. I mean, we've gotten a taste of it with, Alec or Illick, I mean, we see with Murdoch how it's going to be, and it's going to take a decade plus, and that's just how that process works. Writing these briefs takes forever. I mean, Allison has literally been writing a post-conviction relief act petition for a month and a half. It's 200 pages.
Shit.
Yeah, dude, like for real. Like, and I'm not talking 200 pages plus exhibits. I'm talking like she's written half of a novel. And it's this guy's last chance at freedom. So, she takes it pretty seriously, but I've lost her for the most part for, a month and a half. I'm more than ready for her to be done with it. But, I try to stay out of her hair because I don't need to be adding to the stressful situation by being a glommy dickhead, so I just try to steer clear and then, like give her space, give her grace, so yeah,
By the way,
man,
guys,
it's like,
I was
go
gonna
ahead,
say,
Jay.
someone asked if court is over. No, we are on like a 10-minute break after they just showed that surveillance, footage from. So I'm checking as we're going. As soon as they go back, we'll go back. I have a question for you, Bob. So in that case, so basically they make this motion because they're realizing that they haven't been shared stuff they should have based on these depositions that they've done. What are they asking for? Like at this point, they don't want to extend the case to review it because they want a speedy trial. What is the defense asking for with this motion? Sanctions or just to be like,
Yes.
give us all your shit now?
Yes. So for both things, and it was very insightful, Jay, actually. So they asked for, they're asking specifically, they're naming everything that they have asked for. In the rules with respect to reciprocal discovery is that you do not have to the defense does not have to specifically request any item in particular. It's the state's duty to turn it over. If they intend on using it at trial, or if it's relevant, it's their duty to turn it over to the defense. And again, that includes exculpatory material. So when they're not doing it, it's not a good look for the state. And, so what they're asking is two things. They're asking specifically for the items. I mean, one of the items, for instance, is that they're seeking the data, the reports, and the other information relating to the images of the bridge purportedly taken on Libby German's phone at 2:05 p.m. on February 13th, which was the day of the crime, 2017, as well as an image, which is the famous bridge guy photo, right? As well as an image of Abigail Williams walking on the bridge, purportedly taken on Libby's phone at 2:07 p.m. on February 13th, both purportedly through Snapchat. And so they haven't turned the shit over. And we're a year, like a major piece of evidence where the defense needs to be able to have their experts, forensic data experts, examine that to make sure that it's legitimate, to make sure that law enforcement didn't fudge the pictures, that nothing's photoshopped, that the dates and the times line up, that the GPS data and the geofencing adds up, and they're not turning it over. And now we're 2 months away from trial. So the sanction that they're asking for is simply that this time not be counted against the defense in terms of tolling the speedy trial. So like I was telling my live the other night, the way that speedies work, if the defense files a motion that is going to take a certain period of time, whether it's a motion to suppress or it's a motion that's going to have to be litigated, that can toll the speedy date, meaning it can delay it, and the time counts against the defense. So what they're asking in this situation, because it's the state that's slow playing it, that the time counts against the state, not the defense, meaning that the trial won't get delayed. So it's not a big ask, and it's a fair ask in light of what they're articulating here. And I mean, the one thing about the motion work in this case is that they put it all on the table. You know what I'm saying? They are like, these are not generic paragraphs. These are detailed paragraphs of exactly what they're looking for and exactly what they're alleging that the state has not turned over. And it's pretty damning shit. I mean, I'm seeing the word exculpatory. I'm only on page 4 because I was trying to listen to the testimony of 18. So, and I'm on paragraph 23, and like I said, I've seen the word exculpatory material, or the phrase, no less than 5 times already. So, I mean, it's par for the course, though. It's kind of like what's been going on with this case. And again, while I'm certainly a defense bar, as I'm a defense attorney by trade, and I will always support the Constitution, because again, if you guys don't know, those of you that hate defense attorneys, just remember that we are the guardians of the Constitution, that we are the ones who protect all of us as citizens from the state and the power of the state from violating our rights in those little motions that you hate, motions to suppress. Oh, he got off on a technicality. No, he got off because law enforcement violated somebody's constitutional right. And if we don't call them on that, then that means that cop, the next time he's out, and maybe it's your front door, he decides to just come in and search your house because you know what? He did it last time and he got away with it and nothing happened. So he's going to violate the Constitution. He's not going to abide by the fact that we have an expectation of privacy in our homes and our papers, that requires law enforcement to get probable cause to show that you have some kind of evidence that shows that it's that there's a degree of guilt that can be assigned at a very low level in order to kind of move forward with getting a search. That they have enough to move forward in getting that search warrant. It certainly doesn't reach the level of what we've come to know what the state's burden is at trial, which is beyond a reasonable doubt. Probable cause is nowhere near that. It's a much lower burden, but it exists for a reason, and it exists because we just can't have law enforcement kicking our doors in, pulling us over whenever the hell they want, searching our vehicles, searching our homes without having probable cause that a crime has been committed and that we're likely the person that committed it. So, yeah, man, it's problematic, and I take no joy in this. It's like I'm not like people are like, I get fired up when I read it because it's bullshit, and I've been seeing it for 20 years. It's like people love to have the theory that, the state never does wrong and cops are always by the book. And that's just not true. It's just not true. I've seen it from the inside. That's not to say that there aren't great prosecutors and there aren't great cops out there, because there are. And prosecutors are an absolute necessity because they put some really, really horrible pieces of shit away that need to go away. That being said, for us to pretend like there's never mistakes made is absurd, because we're all humans, and tunnel vision's a very real thing. And with this case, man, I don't know. I don't know what the evidence is. You know what I mean? It's like I'm not sitting here preaching that Rick Allen's necessarily innocent. Based on what I've seen on the probable cause affidavit, it's weak. I was talking about it yesterday. I mean, compare Koberger and Huerman, what we saw in the PCA and the bail application there, that's powerful. It's powerful. You read it and you're like, holy shit, they nailed these dudes. They nailed them. And when you're reading Rick Allen's, I'm not walking away like, holy shit, they nailed this dude. I'm like, man, they're going to need more because it's weak. They basically have mere presence at the scene. They have 3 witnesses who all give a different description, and an unspent casing that was ejected, wasn't shot through a barrel, that they're claiming that they have an expert that's able to compare the tool markings from the ejection of a shell, an unspent casing out of a gun. And it's bullshit. It's junk science. And, but it's not going to matter at trial. That's what you worry about, is that when jurors get in that box and they have a tendency to just kind of subconsciously, they just kind of X out experts. They know that the state's guy is going to come on and say whatever the state needs him to say. And they know that the defense guy is going to come on and say the exact same shit, whatever the defense needs them to say. So they give it the weight that they think that it's worth. And a lot of time it's a very low amount of weight. That's not to say that there can't be experts that are unbelievable. But, when you get a cop up there on the stand that's going to say, look, I did the testing on this and, it was a match to Rick Allen's gun. Even when the defense guy gets up there and says it's not a match and it's junk science, you can't unring that bell, and we've got 2 little girls that were killed and somebody's got to pay for it. It's a scary case from the defense side, man, especially if the guy's innocent.
Especially if the prosecution's not playing by the same rules that they are.
I mean, dude, come on, just play the game right,
Not only the prosecution, but it seems like the judge is biased as well. I mean, he didn't even in that Supreme Court hearing seem like the judges were like, "What is this record?" Even they seem to be like there's not much of a record here, if I remember correctly. So I mean, not that it changes anything, but
I mean, dude, Jay. I have practiced in front of judges that could not stand Allison and I because we're aggressive attorneys, and they don't always love aggressive attorneys, especially from the defense side. We can grate on their nerves, and I've never seen anything like this, dude. Never. Todd, never. I would never become a prosecutor. It's not in my DNA. I'm a voice to the voiceless guy.
Fido made a good point here. No, I can't find. One of the points I think that the defense is gonna harp on here is that in that one journal entry, he says his dad tried to hide the gun, so I'm sure they're
For
gonna
sure.
bring that up.
100%. Yeah,
There it
Shelley
is,
said it too. Fido and Shelley both said it. Like there's no question. You know, there were a few journal entries where you're talking about, I can't find where my dad hid the guns. So, you know, that's helpful to the defense, to be honest with you. You know, I mean, he clearly, the guns might not have been locked up, or maybe he had them in the box, in the lock box, and it wasn't locked, but he was at least trying to hide the guns. So it's something. I mean, if you're the defense, you're looking for any bone that you can gnaw on, and at least that's something. That being said, the math test, Jay.
Yep.
The math test.
All right, you may be seated.
By the way, real quick, mods, thank you as always. You guys are always crushing it, sharing everything. Thank
Best
you
in the
guys.
business.
Best,
Best in the
absolutely.
business,
Thank you.
dude. No question.
Lieutenant Willis, the video we just saw had some split screens in that. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so just so we're clear, that was Mr. Wogrowski testified to nearly 100 surveillance cameras. He spliced the video together.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that was just it's taking the same time, just different angles, the same hallway.
That's correct.
Sir, could you tell us, please, who was wounded on November 30th?
The wounded was Phoebe Arthur, Elijah Mueller, Riley Franz, Callie Osage, Molly Darnell, John Asciuto, and Aiden Watson.
Thank you. May I approach witness?
Sure.
This is admitted as People's One. Sir, what have I handed you?
This is the autopsy protocol for Hannah St. Juliana.
Sir, who was killed November the 30th, 2021?
That's correct.
This is exhibit 5. Sir, how old was Hannah?
She was 14.
And how did she die?
Your Honor, I'm going to object to the reading of the autopsy protocol into the record.
He's not
It's been
reading.
admitted.
He's not reading the autopsy.
They're being admitted as exhibits 1 through 4, correct?
That's correct, Judge.
All right, so I think it was a question.
How did she die?
She died of multiple gunshot wounds.
May I approach the witness?
Sure.
All right, guys, this is the
This is
point. You need to
exhibit
take a
2.
break. Take a break.
What is that?
Yeah. So this is proof of death witnesses, Jay.
This is the autopsy protocol for Madison Baldwin.
And this is a picture of Madison and people 6 on the screen.
Yes,
How did she die, sir?
she had a gunshot wound to the head.
She was 17 years old.
Yes, sir.
This is exhibit 3. So what have I handed you?
Autopsy protocol for Tate Neard, and he was 16 years old.
And how did he die?
He died from multiple gunshot wounds.
And this is exhibit 4. That's an autopsy protocol?
Yes, sir. This is for Justin Schilling. He was 17 years old.
And how did he die, sir?
Died of a gunshot wound to the head.
And those are the 4 students who were killed inside Oxford High School on November the 30th, 2021.
That's correct.
Another brother.
Cross.
Man, it's brutal.
It's got to be it. They got to rest after this.
Good afternoon.
Man.
Go back to November 30th of 2021, when you were made aware of the shooting at Oxford High School.
Okay.
You testified today that you were at the prosecutor's office
I was.
and you were advised, you said by the prosecutor and her chief assistant, that was the chief prosecutor, Ms. McDonald,
Correct.
and her chief assistant came to the office where you were discussing another case.
We were in a conference room in their office and they came. Yes.
The prosecutor asked you about the swear-tos that were conducted both for the charges made against him and the charges alleged against his son as well, the charge made against his son. Do you recall those questions?
I do.
And the prosecutor confirmed with you that the process for the swear-to is open to the public.
That's correct.
You said that both the public and the media were present at the swear-tos for both Mr. Crumbley's son and also Mr. Crumbley.
That's right.
For Mr. Crumbley's son, you made note that Mr. Crumbley was not present in person for the swear-to in the arraignment.
Yes, I stated he was he was there on Zoom.
And if you recall, his son was also on Zoom for the arraignment. Is that correct?
His son was in custody.
But he was not there in person in custody, if you recall.
That's correct.
After the Oxford High School shooting on November 30th of 2021, do you recall receiving tips and receiving information and were made aware of concerns for the safety of James and Jennifer Crumbley after their son's name had been made public, if you recall?
I don't recall that.
Do you recall that their residence had been identified publicly?
I don't recall it, but if I can explain, I think I do know that there was media was there, but I don't recall it being released anywhere, if that makes sense.
And I'm not suggesting that law enforcement released that location. Obviously, you talked about the social media posts,
Yes.
that there was a lot of information coming into you and your department. There was a lot of information being made public that wasn't necessarily true. There was a lot going on at the time on November 30th of 2021, separate from the tragedy at the school.
That's fair.
You said that on December 2nd of 2021, that you and the prosecutor's office were having discussions about possibly charging James and Jennifer Crumbley.
That's correct.
You know that at some point on December 2nd of 2021, not necessarily the nature of not the content of the discussions, but the nature of the discussions about potentially charging was made public.
I'm not familiar with that.
If you recall, there were media reports and information put out into the media that James and Jennifer may be facing charges.
That may be true. At that point, I was completely involved. Like, there was things that came out in the media that people tell me about today I have no idea about because I wasn't.
Yes, and you had a lot going on. And obviously, when I ask you a question, I'm just asking you
I
questions
understand.
about what you know about.
I understand.
You knew on December 2nd, you testified today that you knew on December 2nd of 2021 that James and Jennifer Crumbley were not staying at their residence.
Yes.
You knew that they left on November 30th of 2021.
Correct.
And that was before charges had been announced against them,
Yes.
and before there was any sort of information that may have been put into the media that charges may be forthcoming.
Yes.
That was in fact the day of the actual Oxford High School shooting that they stopped staying at their residence.
To my understanding, yes.
The prosecutor showed you Exhibit 362, which is a Holiday Inn Express receipt, correct?
Yes.
And if you recall, the room was registered to Jennifer Crumbley,
I believe you.
if you recall.
I don't recall, but I believe you.
You know that at some point on December 1st, James and Jennifer left. Oh, and before I go past that, you also know that on November 30th that James and Jennifer Crumbley obtained those track phones from the Walmart in Lapeer.
Yes.
And we looked at that receipt as well.
Yes.
And you testified that you learned during your investigation that there was a conversation either with Detective Sergeant Brian or Lieutenant Marsden about James and Jennifer obtaining those phones.
Yes.
And the purpose was because they had given their phones to law enforcement and they didn't have any way to communicate with people, if you recall the information they were given.
They were taken in a search
I
warrant.
think so.
Whether they gave them to, I guess,
Panda.
is subjective.
I think
Yeah,
he will
they were-
testify.
We obtained them, and it's my understanding the advice given to them, which again isn't uncommon, is that purchase some track phones so you could maintain communications.
Exhibit 365, you know that on December 1st of 2021, that James and Jennifer left that Holiday Inn in Lapeer and checked into an extended stay in Auburn Hills.
What day did you say?
December 1st of 2021.
Yes.
Now, Lapeer, for those who aren't familiar, is north of Oxford.
It is.
It's north of Auburn Hills.
It is.
So they left the Lapeer area and came down to Auburn Hills, which is 15 minutes south of Oxford. I could be wrong about the time.
But you referenced Lapeer essentially borders Oxford,
Okay.
and
On the north side.
north side, and then you got Rochester. 20 minutes. I don't know.
Okay, I won't lock you into a time. But they came and they came slightly south of, still in Oakland County, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You noted specifically that there was an Auburn Hills Police Department across the street from the extended stay.
Yes.
Now, you know that Jennifer and James Crumbley checked out of the extended stay on December 3rd of 2021,
Yes.
which was that Friday.
Yes.
You don't know what time they left the hotel, correct?
If the checkout's on the, but do I know? No.
You know what time checkout is?
Yes.
Based on the receipt and the documents, correct?
Yes.
But you don't know what time they left. Whether if it was at checkout or before, you have no idea.
That's right.
At some point on Exhibit 368 is the T-Mobile receipts from the T-Mobile in Owasso.
Okay.
Those are dated December 2nd of 2021, if
Okay.
you recall.
Yes, I do.
And there was some conversation about the distance that Owasso is from Auburn Hills, because on December 2nd of 2021, James and Jennifer Crumbley had been staying at the extended stay in Auburn Hills.
Yes, and I believe they went to Owasso to get their phones.
Right. They drove to Owasso to get their phones and then went back to the extended stay, from what you understand.
Yes.
So they didn't stay in Owasso, correct? Overnight, to your knowledge.
No.
Now, you're aware that after the Oxford High School shooting, there were a variety of reactions and emotions to what occurred at Oxford High School.
Yes.
There was terror.
From whom?
Anyone at the school.
More than likely.
There was anger.
Are you
I'm
just
speaking
talking
in general. In general.
I would guess after an incident like that, every emotion imaginable could be
Right.
put out there.
You're aware that once the identity of the shooter at Oxford High School was made public, you were also made aware during your investigation that a lot of that anger, or some of that anger, was directed toward the parents of the shooter, James and Jennifer Crumbley.
I can't say specifically, no.
Exhibits 371 and 372 were the videos from 1111 Bellevue in Detroit. You noted that there was a difference of 22 minutes on the timestamp on the video from the actual time.
Yes,
So the video was 22 minutes ahead of what the actual clock time was, if you recall.
I think that's right.
The video, I believe it's 371, shows that James and Jennifer arrived at approximately 10:59 a.m. at 1111 Bellevue.
Okay.
And that was prior to the swear-to that you testified was conducted at noon.
That I believe it was around noon, correct?
Okay. And again, I'm not asking you to lock in on the exact time, if it was 12:01 or 12:02 or whatever the time may be, but 10:59 is obviously before around noon.
It is.
And the two videos that you were shown, the exhibit 372 is after 4 p.m., where it shows that James Crumbley walked out of the building and turned the car around and then went back in the building.
Yes, was it 417 or something like that?
Correct. So the two clips that you saw, there were actually many, many clips from throughout that day, if you recall, that you've reviewed as part of your investigation.
Yes.
In fact, as part of your investigation, you reviewed those clips and know that one or both of James and or Jennifer Crumbley were in and out of that building on more than one occasion on December 3rd of 2021.
I don't recall.
Do you recall that there was video of James specifically leaving the building to smoke and going back in on more than one time?
I can't say. I don't know.
And we heard you were in here when investigator Creer testified,
Yes.
and he talked about finding, I believe he said 14 cigarette butts next to the Kia
Yes.
in the 1111 Bellevue parking lot.
Yes.
So you don't specifically recall whether or not James and Jennifer did leave the building. You don't recall whether they didn't. It's fair to say you just don't recall.
That's right.
You testified that at 4 o'clock, a judge ordered James and his wife to turn themselves in.
Yes.
You don't know whether James had knowledge of that order from the judge.
I mean, it's safe. I mean, there's some evidence in my mind that points to that he's aware.
You did not see anything in your review of the case and of the evidence that you've obtained in this case to suggest that James was not going to turn himself in. And I'm not asking about anything that you've seen that you may or may not be able to talk about, but I'm asking specifically, you haven't seen anything to suggest that they weren't going to turn
She'll
themselves
have
in.
to object to the form of the question. She can't try to pigeonhole a witness if he has more information and then limit the answer in his base of knowledge.
Well, it was kind of a long question too, so, but you're specifically asking him.
Your Honor, I'll rephrase my questions a little bit because there was multiple questions. You asked, and we heard the testimony, you asked retired Sergeant Hendrick to locate James and Jennifer Crumbley on December 2nd of 2021.
That's correct.
That was on the date that there were discussions about potentially charging James and Jennifer Crumbley.
That's correct.
On December 3rd of 2021, they had not been located at that time, earlier in the day.
What time?
Before dark.
No, they weren't located.
They were
To my
located,
knowledge, they weren't located.
right. To your knowledge, they were located later in the day, and we heard the testimony about that information, correct?
Yes.
You testified about a video, I believe you said it was posted on Twitter, of the shooter, a Molotov cocktail or something?
I believe it was a YouTube video.
Okay. You have no information that James was aware of that video?
No.
Now, Exhibit 16 is a photograph of the backpack and contents in the bathroom that we looked at.
Okay.
The photo shows that the journal that was in the backpack was open, and I believe you testified that that was opened by law enforcement.
To be honest, I'm not. So if I can recap that, the Michigan State Police bomb squad went in there. They arranged the items to my understanding, and that's how the first time I saw that that's how it was.
Okay, so you don't have any specific knowledge about how that was opened or who opened it. You just know that when you saw the contents, that's how they were as they were in the photograph.
Right.
You identified the journal as that of the shooter because his name was in it.
Yes. Among other things.
Right. You said also the writing matched homework that you saw and things of that nature. The first date that you have written in the journal you testified was November 9th of 2021.
I believe that's right.
Okay. You indicated that there were references to incidents prior to November 9th of 2021, but you don't specifically know what the dates were that those incidents were written about. Is that fair?
I think I might,
Based on reading the journal.
based on everything I've read.
Okay. So based on everything you have about all the knowledge you have about the case that you learned after November 30th of 2021, you may have additional information.
Yes.
But looking at the journal, you can't tell from the dates. There aren't dates other than November 9th of 2021, and I think there might be a couple other ones
I see.
referencing the shooting.
You're correct.
You testified that the journal appears to be written from back to front. So opening the front cover, there would be no writing, but if you flip to the back, then it's the 22 pages from the back forward that have writing on them.
It seems that way, yes.
And again, I think this is an obvious question, but I'm going to ask you. You have no indication that James Crumbley was aware that that journal existed, correct?
No, I think I know he knew it existed.
That that journal existed.
Yeah, he mentioned it in his counseling session that why didn't you write, you can write in your journal.
Right, and we heard from the counselor and we heard from the dean of students, who both testified that there was a mention of a journal, but that there were no specifics given. It doesn't say the journal in your backpack, the one you always keep with you. He didn't provide colors. He didn't provide any descriptive detail. We saw in the search warrant photos that were taken that there were additional notebooks and could be journals in the shooter's bedroom. He references a journal. The school counselor and the dean of students mentioned a journal, testified about a journal. They indicated that James Crumbley said, you have a journal. But there's no specifics given about what that journal is. Is that fair?
That was a long question.
It was a very long question. Yes, there were no specifics given during that meeting at the school about whether James had any knowledge of what the journal looked like, if he knew what was in it, or anything like that.
No.
Specifically, pages 15 and 22 that we have that were admitted as Exhibit 359. On page 15, if you recall, the shooter is writing about wanting a 9mm and that he's mad because he wants to get it because that's what he wants for the school shooting, correct?
Can we put it?
Yes. In fact, I can hand this to you because I don't have it electronically. May I approach, Your Honor?
Sure.
Thank you. It's flipped open to page 15.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I'm sorry, what was your question, Counselor?
Page 15.
Okay.
There's some mention about the shooter wanting a 9mm gun. He wants it for the school shooting. And he's mad that he hasn't gotten it yet.
I'm not. Yes.
Okay.
He's pissed.
Pissed is the word he used, correct? Page 15 also includes this statement. He mentions the Caltech and says he has to find where his dad hid it.
Yes, that's what it says.
If you'd like to, yes. I'm going to go to page 22 next, Mr. Keith. Mr. Keith is going to put them on the screen for you.
Thank you.
May I approach, Your Honor? Thank you, Mr. Keith. So that's the page 15 that you just looked at, correct? The portion that I asked you to look at.
Yes.
Page 22. If you could go to page 22, Mr. Keith, thank you.
There's a few 22.
Page 22, the binding.
Which exhibit number is this?
359, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Page 22, And again, we discussed that this was written along the binding, so along the inside edge of the page, correct, in the journal?
Yes,
And it says, I will have to find where my dad hid my 9mm before I can shoot the school, correct?
that is what it says.
Now, we know based on the testimony that you've heard, and you've been sitting in court during the trial, we know that there was a 9mm handgun purchased on November 26th of 2021.
Yes.
That the
correct.
shooting at the high school occurred on November 30th of 2021. That the shooter and his mom went to the shooting range on November 27th of 2021. So this portion would have been written at some point between November 27th of 2021 and arguably the morning of November 30th of 2021.
Well, now you've confused me. I don't,
Well, we know that there was no 9mm handgun in the house until November 26th of 2021, correct? Based on your investigation.
I see the 9mm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because this specifically references a 9mm.
It does.
This is different than the other on page 15, which specifically references the Caltech.
I got you.
So, although Mr. Crumbley's son says my 9mm, we know that there was a 9mm purchase on November 26th of 2021.
Yes.
That he went to the shooting range on November 27th of
Yes.
2021, and the shooting occurred on November 30th of 2021.
Yes.
So we know, and this page was page 22, which would have been the back cover of the journal. Is that fair? If you recall? If you don't, it's okay. But we can read this and know that it would have been written after definitely November 26th of 2021.
Yes.
On page 3 of the journal, Mr. Keese, if you don't mind, page 3, thank you. Access. Yes. If you look at the third line of this entry, it says, I have access to the gun and the ammo. Do you see that?
I do see it.
Now, you don't recall seeing anything in this journal or even around this entry that says, my dad told me where the gun and ammo are, correct?
Can you repeat that, please?
Yes. You don't recall reading anything in the journal that says, my dad told me where the gun and ammo are.
I do not.
You don't remember reading anything in the journal. You didn't see anything in the journal that says, my dad showed me where the gun and ammo are.
No, I didn't read that.
So when it says, I have access, you don't know how he obtained access. Is that fair? It just says, I have access. Exactly what the words are.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Yes. Reading this journal entry and the information that you have that you've read in the journal, this doesn't say how Mr. Crumbley's son had access to the firearm. Is that fair?
That's right. Just simply that he had access.
Simply that he had access.
Understood.
Thank you. I have no further questions, Your Honor. Redirect.
Briefly, thank you, Judge. Starting off with the journal here. You were asked if James Crumbley knew it existed, and you indicated that you believe that the answer was that, yes.
Yes.
Okay, so you were here for Mr. Hopkins' testimony as well as Mr. Ejak's testimony. Of course, you're the officer in charge of the investigation. In that meeting with James Crumbley, did he say journals, plural, or journal as in singular?
Just a singular journal.
Okay. And there were notebooks found in the home, 112 East in Oxford. You saw a picture of that. But were there any other journals found?
There were not.
Okay. And you indicated that you believe that you can tell approximately when the journal entries were written based upon the content?
Yes.
Okay, so I guess we didn't really go over it in direct examination, but there was an incident on November the 4th, 2021 at Oxford High School. Was that referenced in the journal?
It was.
And an incident that occurred November the 11th, 2021. Was that referenced?
Yes.
Did the shooter reference his friend who left the state October 31st?
He did.
Okay. Was there any indication anywhere in the journal that the 9mm was locked up?
No.
And we saw evidence in this case that the shooter obtained access to the Keltec pistol as well.
Yes,
Okay, and that text message was, "Look what my dad left out."
correct.
Okay, and what we have on the screen here, page 3. First off, I got my gun. It's an SP-2022 6-hour 9mm. Second, the shooting is tomorrow. We know, of course, the shooting occurred November the 30th, 2021. So can you presume a date on this passage? So this would be November the 21st, presumably.
Presumably.
Okay. Second, shooting is tomorrow. I have access to the gun and ammo, and of course, we know that he did obtain that weapon.
We do.
Okay, and we know that the murder weapon from November the 30th was the weapon purchased by James Crumbley on November the 26th, 2021.
Absolutely.
Nothing further.
Brief request or brief question? Very brief. And I don't mean to belabor the issue, but when it comes to journals or notebooks, you don't know what James calls a notebook, what he calls a journal. You have no idea. Is that fair?
That's not fair. I do know what he calls a journal because he called it a journal in the meeting with Mr. Hopkins.
Right. He said something about a journal.
He did.
You don't know if he's talking about a notebook. You don't know if he's talking about a journal, like a diary with a lock on it. You have no idea what he's talking about.
I got a pretty good idea. He's talking about a journal. That's what I can say.
A journal.
A journal.
The reference to the Caltech that Mr. Keys just asked you about was in August of 2021, correct? He asked about the video that we saw, the text that Mr. Crumbley's son sent to his friend about my dad left it out, LOL, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
That was in August of 21.
Can you show me?
If you recall.
I don't recall.
You don't recall seeing anything from November of 21 in the journal or otherwise saying that Mr. Crumbley's son had access because Mr. Crumbley left a gun out in November of 21 or in the journal, correct?
Ask that again, please.
Sure. You don't recall seeing anything during your investigation from November of 21 that Mr. Crumbley had allegedly left a firearm out in the house and his son talked about it.
This is beyond the scope of my redirect.
I still don't understand the question.
Sure, Your Honor. Mr. Keys asked about the text that was sent from Mr. Crumbley's son to his friend about his dad allegedly leaving the Caltech out.
Okay,
And he filmed a video of himself.
okay.
I'm trying to clarify that that video was in August of 21. I mean, if I need to, I'll pull up the exhibit, but I was just trying to clarify with the detective lieutenant.
Okay, I think if you showed me the exhibit, you'd be able to decide, but you stipulated that that was from August of 21?
Were we talking about the Caltech?
Yes.
Sorry, yes, August 18th, 21, and August 20, I'm sorry,
August 9th.
I did it again. August 19th of 21 and August 20th of 21.
Okay, tell me what exhibit it
Your Honor, they stipulated to the date, so I don't need to ask again.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I just, based on that, there was evidence that we introduced in this case that the shooter filmed a video of himself holding the 6-hour 9mm handgun November 26, 2021.
Yes.
Okay. And there were also Instagram posts of him holding that same firearm on the 27th.
That is correct.
Okay. And I think I misspoke earlier. I said November 21st as far as this passage being written. This would actually be November the 29th of 2021.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'm sorry about that. Thank you, Judge.
All right, can you be excused?
Yes, Judge.
All right, you can step down and you're excused.
Thank you, Judge.
Do they rest?
Tell me where we're headed.
Judge, we have no further witnesses today. Before
There we go.
officially rest, I'd like the opportunity to review our exhibit list. We had a lot of modifications throughout the case.
All right.
I want to confirm with defense counsel what was extracted and added on. And then tomorrow morning, we'll know for sure.
All right, do you want 9 o'clock?
That's fine, Your Honor. Yes.
9 o'clock. All right. I'm going to ask you to return at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Please know again that during the trial, you should not read, listen to, or watch any news reports about the case. Under the law, the evidence you consider to decide the case must meet certain standards. For example, witnesses must swear to tell the truth, and lawyers must be able to cross-examine them. Because news reports do not have to meet these standards, they could give you incorrect or misleading information that might unfairly favor one side. So to be fair to both sides, you must follow this instruction. Do not go on social media, do not post, do not do research, do not discuss the case with anyone. We really appreciate your commitment to this very important job. And we ask you to hang with us just a few more days. We're nearing closings, within the week, I would think. Remember to fill out your lunch form for tomorrow. Stay healthy tonight, and don't discuss the case with anyone. Any questions about the schedule? Any questions about that? We appreciate you. Thank you.
All rise for the jury.
Please be seated and remain seated until the defendant is removed from the courtroom.
Oof.
Thank you,
Yes,
Judge.
sir.
Oof, the hell was that?
I don't know, but I didn't like it, Jay.
No. So they're done for the today, folks. It sounded like he's got to check some stuff to see if he's going to call. No witnesses for today, he said. So I don't know what else he's going to. Who else is going to call?
For they rested. Like, well, they've got no witnesses. He said that they just wanted to go through the exhibits and make sure that they got everything into evidence that they wanted to get in. So they don't have any further witnesses. At least that's what I thought I heard him say.
Oh, okay. I thought for like today. All right. So that means we find out, I guess,
Oh,
tomorrow.
did he say?
me
Rewind
see
it.
what he
'Cause
said.
I'm pretty sure that he said the state rests. But then he's like, but we have a lot of exhibits, and I think they've rested. That's how you end it. You end it with that guy.
Let me go back. Yeah, exactly. Oh,
With no further witnesses today. Before we officially rest, I'd like the opportunity to review our exhibit list. We had a lot of modifications throughout the case.
all right. So no more witnesses for today before you
I
officially.
want to confirm with defense counsel what was extracted and added on. And then tomorrow morning, we'll know for sure.
All right.
Yeah, I think they're resting though. I don't think there's.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to put anybody else on. Like, to put the student on is unnecessary. That guy was pretty powerful.
So yeah,
Is what he
guys. So I
brought to
guess
the table.
I did a poll in my channel. Let me see, and I said, "What do you think he will testify?" And let me end it. 100 people voted. 62% think no. So I guess
No,
we'll
what? Not guilty
That-
or not?
know that he
rested?
won't testify. Will he testify? Will he testify?
Oh,
Will James testify?
Like in a situation like this, you're gonna, and let's, like, before we let everybody go real quick, Dizzy was kind enough to send me the charging documents. So let me just read through these real quick so that everybody knows, and so we can have an educated conversation about whether or not, if the state is in fact resting, whether or not they met their burden. Okay. And just remember, when I'm reading through any kind of charge, that it's statutory and that the state has to prove each and every element of that statute. All right. So count one is the voluntary manslaughter case, or that charge. And then it said count one. It kind of starts weird, but that James Crumbley did cause the death of Madison Baldwin by committing the act, and this will be the same charge against 4 counts, obviously, for each of the kids. Did cause the death of Madison Baldwin by committing the act, or by committing the following act or acts in a grossly negligent manner. It's very important. Remember, I told you an intent is not at play here. It's gross negligence. To wit, by storing his or her firearm and its ammunition so as to allow access to the firearm and ammunition by his or her minor child. And that's the first one. And then it's an or, it's not an and. Okay. So think about that. Think about whether or not, now we heard the thing with, the journal, clearly James hid it. Clearly he didn't hide it well enough, because the kid found it, as we know. The end result tells us that. but there were a couple of journal entries. The kid was obviously digging. I don't know. Do you have to bury a box in the backyard? The question then becomes, okay, well, if he found it, why the fuck didn't you lock it? So there's an issue there. But so that's the first element. So, or the grossly negligent failure to perform the following legal duty, to wit, failure to exercise reasonable care to control his or her minor child so as to prevent him from intentionally harming others. And then there's another or. So these are all or propositions, not and, meaning that they don't have to prove each and every one of these. If the state met the burden on just one of these, he's guilty. Okay. Or from so conducting himself so as to create an unreasonable risk of bodily harm to others, knowing that he or she has the ability to control his or her child, and knowing of the necessity and opportunity to do so, contrary to the law. So that's it. So that is the statute for voluntary manslaughter, which again does fall under the homicide statute. So I'm not going to even go through the fleeing and eluding thing, because it's ancillary to me. So what do you guys think? What do you think, Jay? Do you think they met the burden?
I think it was absolutely. I think so.
All right. So the second one was or the grossly negligent failure to perform the following legal duty, to wit, failure to exercise reasonable care to control his or her minor child so as to prevent him from intentionally harming others.
He there was no care. He helped him. He gave him a gun. And then he went, when he knew he had a gun, went to the school, saw the math test we keep talking about, and did nothing. No care. But to me, based on that, guilty. I mean, I
agree, man. I think he failed each and every one of those students, and they lost their lives as a result of it. I think that he failed his child miserably as a parent. I think he failed the community. He failed his family. And ultimately, when people lose their lives because of your failures, you're going to have to pay the price. And I cannot see a world. And I have a feeling, I think that James will testify unless his attorney is so convinced that the state did not meet the burden like that. And that's what I was starting to get into before I kind of jumped into the statute. The decision whether or not and I'm sure that they're grateful that they have a night to sleep on it, because he's going to talk to his counsel. She's going to go back into the holding cell or do a jail visit tonight and spend time with him. And they're going to talk about whether or not he's going to testify. I don't anticipate that they'll have any other witnesses. I think it'll be very similar to what we saw with Jennifer, her testimony, and that's it. But they're going to have the discussion tonight, and they're going to evaluate whether or not they believe that the state proved their case beyond a reasonable doubt. Now and I still don't know as we sit here, Jay, and I have to assume that it was entered into evidence, but I just didn't see it get entered into evidence. And I'm talking about the math test, which is, it has to have been.
It had to have been.
Like my head would explode, like on air, people like talking about trigger warnings. It's like, dude, like I'd be, it'd be a nightmare. My head would explode if they didn't put it in. So I'm sure they did. So let's assume that it's in, and we just need to evaluate ourselves, pretend we're the jury based on what we saw. Again, you have to try to wipe your mind out of everything that we know from Jennifer's case, what we know about, anything that we've read with respect to, this case, knowing the things that we know that the jury was not shown. I mean, if you've watched the Miller hearings, you know just how warped this kid was by the end of it all. And, we have to try to forget about, like, we can't think about that when we're trying to come to a verdict. We have to just look at the evidence that was presented here. Look, man, I mean, like you said, you couldn't have said it any more perfectly. I mean, the guy bought him the fucking gun, Like to have no sense that his kid's off at all based on everything that preceded, which I don't find all that compelling, but when you have those things exist and then you're handed that letter or that math test in that office, and if it doesn't trigger something in your mind, like, oh shit, maybe all this weird shit that he's been saying and texting about demon throwing bowls and just all the shit that's going on with him, maybe there's something going on. If it doesn't trigger at that point, I don't know at what point anything was ever going to trigger him. And it goes the same for Jennifer. And when you are that oblivious to what the mental state of your child is, and they turn around and they walk into a school and they mow down 4 innocent, beautiful kids that were robbed of their lives, you're fucking going down. Period. So that's what I anticipate. That's where I'm at with it as well, Jay. So
Yeah, folks. So
what
I
do you
mean,
guys think in the chat?
if they rest, and let's just say he does, test. What is that going to take? A half a day, maybe?
If
we're
that,
gonna be done. Then it's gonna be
Yep.
closings. I mean, well,
That's
jury
it.
instructions, I guess, but we're gonna be done soon, folks. And by the way, I saw someone. We have such a lineup for you because I know folks are asking, Bob, all the Delphi stuff. So of course, Bob's gonna bring it to you. We have a lineup for you guys tonight. Let me tell you, because at
Phew.
6, Joe Jackalone, Sonny Slaughter, who both Bob and I have had on. If you guys don't know Sonny Slaughter, when you see her on Joe tonight, you're gonna love her. Then you got
And
Bob at
dude,
7.
she's amazing. If you guys
Just
have not,
amazing.
she's so just genuine. Like, you're just
Exactly.
not going to
That's
get a
great.
more genuine human being than Sonny Slaughter. So make sure you're hanging with Joe for that. Sorry to interrupt you.
So that's all right. So we got Joe at 6. Then Bob's gonna bring. Bob was reading all the stuff. He's gonna go over it. So Bob's working overtime. So I hope you guys, like I said before, it's hard to stream all day. And then Bob's gonna come back at 7 Eastern. He's gonna break down the Delphi document that came out. So make sure you're there for that. Again, I mean, we've said it ad nauseum, but if you're on my channel, make sure you subscribe, particularly if you're following the Delphi case. You're just getting the facts. You're getting the best info. So that's at 7. And then at 9, which I portaled to you yesterday. Today I'm going to portal to you to Bob. But at 9, what I portaled you to yesterday is this case that Publicly Buzz is doing about this streamer in Russia who was like streaming, his girlfriend died. It's an absolutely wild case. So we got you. It's like TGIF, except on Tuesday. We got
Right.
we got the lineup. Like, what was it? Family Matters, Step by Step. We got the lineup for you guys.
Or it was like, what was the like the couple of years where they had, it was like Friends, Seinfeld.
That was
There were
one,
like there were three great sitcoms, like kind of back to back. I can't remember because I think it went Friends, right? And then there was something in between, and then at 8, like for us, 9 for y'all, Seinfeld would hit. Like, dude, that was a killer lineup. Whatever it was, those 3. Yeah, like the Friday night shit was great too. But that I think because that was Thursday, or it was Tuesday or Thursday. I can't remember what day Seinfeld came
like
on,
it was
but it was
Thursday, but I could be wrong.
I feel like it was Thursday too. I feel like it was
Tim is
Thursday
saying
too, but it was a
Cheers.
kill.
But I don't know. That doesn't seem
No,
right? Where was it?
I think
Wasn't Cheers
Cheers was
CBS?
done. Yeah,
Maybe it
and Cheers was done by the time Seinfeld started, or like they were 2 ships passing in the night. Like Cheers was like coming, which, by the way, I need to revisit Cheers because I loved that fucking show. Like, and I have not watched it. And like, I've gone through Seinfeld full like a few times. You know what I mean? It's like I got to dip back into the oldies but goodies. Yeah, Cheers was great. Such a great cast. Like, so many, like, I mean, to think that Woody was such a late add to that after like Coach, years of Coach. It was great in and of itself. Totally different character, and like Sam and Diane, Allie Christie, Frasier, like the whole lineup was great. You had was Danny in that? Like Danny DeVito? Like, I can't remember if he was playing like, did he play his light what's her name in real life? The little short brunette who's
Rhea
married
Perlman?
to Rita Perlman, exactly. Thank you. Like, I can't remember if DeVito played her husband in that, or if it was just another dude. I think it was another guy. Yeah. Oh, Kirstie Alley. Yeah. Fuck. I forgot about that. That was after Diane left. So, all right, guys. Yeah, tonight, start with Joe. Joe's usually pretty good about wrapping in an hour, but with Sonny, you never know. If you hang late there, jump in with us after the fact. And then, of course, I will do the same thing. I'll portal y'all over to Steve and Dan. I don't know if Dan's going to be with them, but Steve will definitely be there. Dan, Dan gets tired. Dan needs to take naps. Steve just works like a fucking rented mule, man. So, the guy puts in the work. He's
No, these are not,
and I
Jane. These are for everyone. These are not members only. All these tonight. That's for everyone, folks.
Yeah, 100%. It's for everyone. Like we're we're all encompassing. We love everyone. I mean, don't get us wrong. We love when you like get memberships and like cuz that shows us just how much you love us. And we like to reciprocate that. Jay and I are lovers, man. We're not fighters, dudes. So
Absolutely.
y'all know when you guys give us the love, we like to give it right back to you. So you guys have been amazing in the chat today.
Absolutely.
I mean, like I have like the chat was a delight. Like that's the best way I could describe it, Jay. It was like a delight. It was just
great.
a pleasure to read through all of it. And I'm sorry that Jay and I cannot respect, like, to be honest,
I'm gonna
when you guys
research
made
and
it
see if I
clear,
can figure it out.
yeah, I don't know how the hell, like, it's a flaw in the StreamYard system for certain. Seems like that should be something that they should be able to work out. But to be honest with you, that when you guys made us aware that wasn't happening, that's when I started getting a little chatty. I felt bad for people in Jay's chat that were coming in and say hi, Bob, and and when I realized that they weren't seeing what I was typing because I was typing initially, I felt bad. So I had to actually start, like literally verbally saying it. So we apologize for the chatting during the hearings, but we try to, I think we try to limit it to, maybe
Yeah,
slower
we're not gonna do
portions,
it during
like we didn't
Jane's
say a
comment.
fucking word when that, yeah, like we're like when the like powerhouse last witness was there. I think we were dead silent the whole time, but for a couple words. So, Shannon, what's up? All right, you guys, mods,
So
best in the
yeah,
business,
mods,
dude.
best in the biz. Thank you. Tomorrow we're gonna be back after everything that happens tonight. Tomorrow back at 9, possibly states definitely gonna rest, and then we might see James Crumbley, so we want to be there for that. And then we might have closings soon. So
Oh
and then
man. All right. So Jay, here, like forewarning, like not no, like I'm on Law and Crime from 11 to 1. I'm hoping, but that's central time. All right. So that means it's noon until 2. My hope is that Crumley testifies and we go to closings and that I'm on during deliberations. Like if in a perfect world, but I know you'll carry the banner if I got to dip
yeah,
out
I'll
for a
be on
minute.
here, and you could just sign on whenever you're available. So it's not
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Uh, so yeah, guys, thank you
Ned,
all.
no,
Okay.
no, only you guys know the real Bob. Like I'm that the TV shit, man. I got to play by the rules. That's a whole different thing. Y'all get to see the genuine Jay and Bob right here. It's the only place you can ever see that anywhere
Absolutely.
on the interwebs. All right,
And
brother. I love you, man.
love you guys. When I end this, this is gonna go to Bob's stream, so just like it. We don't know how it works, but like stuff gets in the algorithm, gets more people to see it. So
And vice
like it.
versa, kids. For all
So
my
we'll see you
peeps,
guys.
give Jay the love.
So we'll see you guys. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, mods, as always. And we'll see you guys later.
Ciao.
And let me